People like it's not natural. I say, what the fuck is natural? Powerful Morgan Murphy, we are live.
Oh, no.
We are live. We are live. How are you? The fuck's going on? Is that a Spaceballs t-shirt you're wearing?
No, it's it's a no limit soldier t-shirt.
Oh shit! Like Master P. Whatever happened to that
Mystical.
dude? He's got a weed store, I think.
Murder.
Ooh, see murder. Isn't he in jail for murder? How odd.
There's a lot of people are in jail for murder right now. It's very big.
Yeah, you don't have to do your entire life though. I used to think that every time you murder someone, that's it. You go to jail for life. When people get out of jail for murder,
Yeah.
that seems a little fucked up. Doesn't that seem a little fucked up?
A little fucked up to have to. I always I wondered if they go back to their hometown, like where they murdered somebody. Like that's always the fucked up part to me, is like going back to the place where you're the town murderer.
Yeah. It's fucked up that in a moment of just to freak out, you could change your whole life. Your life's fucked. And the another person's life just isn't around anymore. Just stops.
Done.
Yeah. The finality of it all.
It's crazy.
It's a little uncomfortable.
I don't want you snapping. I feel like you could snap.
I'm not a snapper.
Are you?
I'm super calm.
Really?
Yeah, pretty much. Especially in like physical altercation type stuff. I'm very aware of consequences.
What if you were on like your 10th lift of something, like an aggressive workout, and you're in the middle, you have all the, all your energy is just moving forward, and you're lifting the kettle thing, and it's number 10, and someone just comes in and like tells you your mom's stupid.
I would be even less likely to do anything because I'm already exerted.
I get it.
I think of the body, this is a shitty theory with no biology attached to it at all.
Love it.
But I think the body is like a battery. And I think almost like maybe a battery if a battery was a bucket. And this thing can overflow. And I think that's what you get when you get road rage. That's what you get people that snap for no reason. I think they're already coming at you at like 8. They're not like, hi, I'm Morgan. Hi, I'm Joe. And we meet each other at 0.
Right.
I think some people are meeting you. They're already at 6. And they're just ready to snap.
Right.
And it has nothing to do with you.
They should have let a little out at the Starbucks, a little out in the car, a little out, at home with the kids, and then they wouldn't murder anybody at the end of it.
And people will say, well, you just need to work on your breathing, and well, you need to work on your being present, and you need to be mindful. And I think all those things are correct. But I really think that your body has a certain amount of requirements. And I think depending upon your stress level, those physical requirements might be higher, right? Like if you have a job and your job is like some high-level accountant at some big firm and you're crunching numbers and it's fucking stressful as shit, I feel like your body thinks that there is some physical danger involved in this. And I think your body amps up for that. And then when the physical danger doesn't come, your body is just fucking primed and ready to go, but there's nothing, there's no action. There's no fucking action. This fucking cunt cut me off! And then they start doing that shit. Fuck you! Fuck you! They get in their car and they're just fuck you, fuck you. Because in your car, you're ramped up even more. Because in your car, you're aware that you have to be really acutely aware of everything that's around you. You have to make sure that no one's making any mistakes because you're all going 65 miles an hour and a little error can happen really quickly. So you're on edge already when you're in your car, even if you're calm. You're in your car, your sensors are tuned in. If you're fucking paying attention, if you're a healthy human being, you're looking left, you're looking in the mirror, you're looking right, you're checking to make sure that you're okay. You're making sure that no one's doing anything stupid. And then you compound that with the stress of your daily life with no physical release.
Right. We don't have animals chasing us anymore.
Exactly. And we
You
don't
just
have invading tribes.
That would be fun, though, to have a buffalo chase you all day, and then you would release the proper amount of energy given the threat. It would be a realistic.
We'd have a more realistic population number, too.
I like it.
That would be one thing. We don't like that, though. We just, whenever anything like gets like too close, we just kill them off.
Yeah.
Just kill them off. Fuck that. Fuck having buffaloes everywhere. Fuck, kill them. Just fucking kill them. Stop. There's consequences. I gotta go to work. Kill it. Kill it. That's a bigger problem right now in America. Do you know that they reintroduced wolves into America in the 1990s? Now there's this giant debate whether or not wolves should be here.
Really? Where'd they do that?
Yellowstone?
Oh.
Yeah. I think they're badass. But you got to keep an eye on the fuckers.
Yeah, I got a lot of coyotes in my neighborhood. I have a lot of coyote neighbors.
Yeah, super common.
See them all the time.
I had a biologist on who tracks coyotes. That's what he does. Oh, he does track coyotes around Los Angeles. And he's like, dude, they're fucking everywhere.
Yeah.
He said they were living in middle of downtown LA, in the most crowded area. They had a den.
It's crazy. Yeah, I call my neighbors when there's a coyote. If I see a coyote going up their driveway, I go, hey, there's a coyote. Or I call them if somebody knocks on the door asking for money for some organization. Everyone gives each other an alert.
Oh, that's nice.
Coyotes or
Or
people
crooks.
for environmental LA or whatever.
Yeah, those people just knocking on your door. Ooh, that's a bad feeling.
I gave them money for bees one time. They got me all nervous about bees and saving the bees, and I was like, oh shit, I gotta save. I really went from like I'm having coffee and a cigarette to like, oh, I gotta save the bees now. It's my responsibility to solely do it.
Doesn't that also depend on like where your head's at, right? Like if your head is in a really good place and someone knocks on the door and you don't know who they are, it's cool. You're like, hi. You're like, hi, we're here to save chimpanzees. You're like, oh, okay. Like, what do you guys do? And then you start talking to them.
Well, if they can like within a minute make you understand something you didn't understand before, you're like, oh shit, now I got to pay attention.
Right.
Like they sucked me in because I wasn't aware of our bee situation.
Oh, so they immediately hit you with some facts.
They hit me with some facts, and I was like, oh boy.
Now, how are they going to save these bees?
I don't know. With
Just gave them money?
with my $40, I think.
Just here, or take this paper and just go handle it, son.
Yeah.
Go handle it. Yeah, if the bees die, we're dead. We're all dead, apparently.
Yeah.
Except in China, they figured out a way to pollinate things with just a brush. There was an issue where they were really low on bees, and they tried reintroducing bees, and it didn't take. So last-ditch effort was they took people with a paintbrush, and they dusted the pollen on all these different plants.
Like one at a time?
Yeah,
Oy.
yeah. They literally pollinated all these plants. And apparently it worked way better because bees are sort of non-specific. Like bees are just going over there and they're doing their thing and they just get shit on their body and then it transfers over to the plants. It's really kind of fascinating how it works. But these people did it very specifically with a paintbrush. It was really
it's hard
interesting.
to do a bee's job as
See
a
if we
person.
can find the video of it. It's kind of fucking weird because like you could make the argument like we don't really need bees unless you want honey. And honey's not even really good for you. How about that?
That was going through my head, and then they explained to me why we need bees, which I forgot, but it was enough.
I had a guy come to me at Whole Foods. This is my most intrusive. I think the most intrusive is when you're in the parking lot at Whole Foods, because that's when they usually get you. When you're walking out, they try to get you right as you're walking out, and it's fucking hot outside, and you have like ice cream and shit. And you're like, hey, dude.
You also have like $17 ice cream, so they know you have a few bucks.
That's right. Now, because of Amazon, we won't have to do that anymore. Amazon just bought Whole Foods, so just be able to one-click your shit. But this guy, he hits me up, stops me in the middle, stands in front of my cart, puts his finger up. You have 1 minute for gay rights. Like, it's not gonna. 1 minute is not gonna help shit, man. Like, what are you talking about? I vote. Like, what do you want me to do? Want me to donate? So what's this 1 minute? What are you gonna tell me? What are you gonna tell me? You're not gonna tell me shit. I go, no, I do not. I vote for gay rights, though. Take it easy, man. Like, you fucking... That's an annoying activist.
What Whole Foods was this at?
Woodland Hills.
Oh, all right.
Right here. Right up the street.
All right.
Right.
I was trying to
Only
figure out
happened once.
politically where that Whole Foods aligns.
I don't know what the deal is, like where they're allowed to have people. This was a couple of years ago, honestly. I still complain about it because I'm kind of a whiny bitch. But I don't know what the deal is. Like, are you allowed to just set up shop anywhere and put like one of those picnic stands, and they have like one of those little plastic tables they set down, and they show you a picture of a baby with a bloated belly, and they show you. Yeah,
you hope it's Girl Scout cookies, and it turns out to be just a horror show of impending apocalypse.
I almost think like when I see someone like some kids selling lemonade or something like that, I'm like, oh, this is like you guys are doing like a throwback thing,
Oh yeah.
I almost feel like, oh, you guys are doing like an old time. You're making your own butter. Look at you kids. I think this is not sustainable. This is not a real thing anybody does anymore. You got a lemonade stand? Okay. Did you? How did you make? Did you get a horse and ride your horse over here with this lemonade stand?
There's always parents now helping the lemonade. You can't do it alone. You can't do anything alone anymore.
Always. It's always parents there, and it's always those helicopter parents. Don't touch the money, Billy. Don't put your mouth.
I would sell, when I was a kid, I would like take my books and stuff and sell them in my front yard. Like I would just put them out. I thought it was fun to have my own garage sale. But I didn't see my mom for 7 hours of the day. And I'd come back inside and she'd go, what'd you do? I'm like, I made $4. Like, She didn't know how I made $4. I was selling all my shit in the front yard. And she didn't see me or ask me anything.
Different times.
Different times.
Parents were they just let you out.
They let you out, but this was like in the 80s, which was prime. I mean, that was like, kidnapping was hot, you know?
Your mom had faith in your avoidance skills, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, you think about like how people used to raise people. Like everybody I talked to, they just let their kids out. Like when you were, you know, my age, like I'm 49. When I was like 42 years ago, they just let you out of the house.
I used to get kicked out of the house, but I was given a time I had to be back. It was a very like broken system of like get out, but come back by 5 and don't walk under the overpass tunnel. Like I was given rules.
That's where the trolls
Yeah,
live.
I was given rules.
Like what year did they stop doing that? Like just letting kids out? Like when did that stop? Because everyone my age says the same thing. They said when we were kids. Did you get just let out of your house, Jamie? Yeah. Jamie's young. How old are you, Jamie?
34.
He's younger. A lot of 22-year-olds like, that fucking dude's old as shit, bro. Somebody called me a geriatric on Twitter the other day. I was like, how dare you, you little cunt. How dare you? But if you're Jamie's age, you got let out.
We would ride our bikes miles away from our house.
Yeah, but you lived in the woods.
No, down like Columbus.
That's the woods, man. You might as well be.
I grew up in L.A. and I would walk down. Like Ventura Boulevard, which is like practically a thoroughfare when you're a kid.
Oh God!
And I would walk past like they had these motels where the door opened directly to the sidewalk. You know those motels?
Oh yeah, those are the best.
And that was where I was sure I was going to get kidnapped. An arm was going to come out and grab me in. So I would walk and then I'd hop past the doors. The motel doors.
Those motels.
To pay my beeper bill.
Those are weird places.
Yeah.
Pay your beeper bill?
Yeah, I had a beeper. I had a pager. I was like 12, and that was like what I saved up all my money for because everyone had one. And
Did
no
you have
one
the one that
paged
made
me.
messages?
Yeah, I had all that shit, and I would walk down to J&J Beepers in Studio City and pay in cash. It's like a 12-year-old my beeper bill.
Do you remember JJ King of Beepers? Is that it?
I think it's the same. It was same LA. Like this, there was a lot of J&J. I feel like people stole the name.
I forgot about that dude. The King of Beepers.
Yeah, I had turquoise, clear.
You had a clear beeper?
Oh,
Ooh, those
clear.
were slick.
Those were slick.
That's some Star Wars shit.
I'd page myself so that I had messages in there, so if people looked at it. I had no friends.
The King of Beepers. This is JJ Beepers, Las Vegas. Oh, well, he was in LA too. I don't know if the same guy, or maybe like it's one of those things where it's like Kleenex. Like all the other guys, like that's the right name for it. Let's just start calling ourselves Kleenex. You know, like it became. Do you think
Well,
there
it's
was
like
all
how
JJ?
like there's Pink
No,
Dot, but
same
there's
guy.
also Pink Elephant. Like I think people just kind of
Oh,
steal
right.
a little.
Pinks. They probably started it. The hot dog place.
Oh yeah,
That's
never
the biggest.
been.
That's the biggest weird fucking event in LA.
Yeah.
There's a goddamn line of people to buy hot dogs.
Nobody from LA.
Well, here's the thing. Put hot dogs on a regular fucking menu. Good luck. Better not buy a lot of hot dogs. Like if you have a regular restaurant and you have hot dogs as one of the offerings, how often do people? Is it even 1 out of 10?
You get a hot dog if it's like one of two options. Like at Burbank Airport, you can get a hot dog or like a prepackaged salad. And occasionally
Right.
I'm like, I want something fresh, like a hot dog.
Or a turkey sandwich that's sort of moist in some weird way.
Yeah.
The bread's kind of wet. Like, fuck is this?
Yeah.
Right.
Wet bread in lieu of mayo or condiments.
And of course, it's sporting events. The UFC, they always have hot dogs.
Love
for
a hot
sale.
dog at a sporting event.
Good. It's good food for a sporting event. For it's recreational food, right? Like picnics and barbecues.
Sure.
Always hot dogs, right?
Yeah.
It's a good move for a barbecue. It's simple. You can't really fuck it up. If it looks brown on the outside, it's done, right? It's already
Easy.
cooked. You could eat it raw.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be cooked.
Yeah, you can eat it right out of the package. So it's a good move for that. But somehow or another, Pink's has convinced people just by cooking outside. They just have a big open area where they're cooking right in front of you. And everybody's like, oh, I want one of those. And there's a fucking line.
Well, I think the line is why people go. I think people
100%.
just go for a line, and the line is outside. You can see the line.
Yeah.
It's not like Astro Burger at like 2 a.m. where you can't see the line. The line is exciting. It's what draws tourists.
I think that's Jamie Masada's strategy.
See the
right?
line?
He's always got that crazy line
Yeah.
outside the Laugh Factory. And he makes the comics wait in line, too.
Really?
Do you don't know the
I haven't
deal,
been
the
in a
open mic deal?
little while, but no, I don't know that.
Their open mic deal is kind of nuts. Like you have to get there at like 9 in the morning and you wait outside. And if you leave, you lose your spot. So you have to like have some sort of a friendship with the other comics.
Yeah.
Or they
That
save
was
your
like
spot.
the Comedy Store had a situation. I mean, the open mic when I was started, it was like 15 years ago. Bobby Lee was the host of the open mic, and he knew I was in college, I was in school, and I was in class, so I couldn't go all day and wait. So he would slide my name into the open mic, and I would get to come after class.
That's sweet.
That was real cute.
But the open mics were always weird, right? They're always weird. And in LA, they're extra weird because there's so much. I feel like if you can make it to be a professional comedian and you started out in LA, you're a rare person.
Well, it's 50-50 comedians and then just like, mentally ill transients who's also comedians, but
Who are also comedians. Yeah.
you just wait and you go, all right, it's going to be my friend, and then it's going to be that guy who has all of his belongings with him, and then it's going to be my other friend, and then it's going to be that crazy lady, and then it'll be me. And you just wait. You wait and wait and wait.
And you just wonder what kind of fucking diseases are just festering on that microphone.
And also just, what's the point of this? What am I doing?
Right. Especially in the beginning.
Yeah.
To have vision and hope. Like, what was your initial goal when you first started doing stand-up?
Really simply, like, I think it was, I knew I liked writing a lot, like even before I started doing stand-up. And I think stand-up, I've tried to figure it out. The easiest way to explain it, I think, is that I just wanted to see if what I was writing was funny. And so that's sort of why, even when I started, I mean, I'm still deadpan, obviously, but when I started, I was so dry because I was essentially just reading out loud these thoughts I had with no real performance background, and I wasn't, necessarily a performer at heart.
Right.
So I was just like reading one-liners and going, is this funny? Is this funny? Is this funny? Get a laugh, keep it. Don't get a laugh, throw it away.
But if you throw it away, like, you never know sometimes. Is it me? Is it the way I'm delivering it? Is this joke, is it a good idea, but it's done wrong?
Yeah, and then at that time too, you don't have the ability to perform at 100 different places. So you're not going, okay, it works in the alternative room, but doesn't work at the club, or it's just like, oh, well, it didn't work at the laundromat, but it worked at the coffee house. I wonder what that means about this joke.
Right. It's like jokes that'll work at the UCB, but they bomb on the store.
Yeah.
Like, why? What's going on? Like, why did that get an applause break at the UCB? And they just fucking stared at me in the main room. Following Rick Ingram, they just stared at you.
Sometimes that UCB is hot. I mean, that's just any word that comes out of your mouth.
It's weird.
And then sometimes, nope.
It's a weird place. It's weird they don't pay, too. That's also super weird.
Yeah, I think if I was, I'd be a little less. I'm not even that upset. I'm not upset about it, but I feel like I'd be less upset if I was like involved in the school and realized that it's so kids can take classes at like a decent rate. I think, isn't that what it's for? So that kids can take really cheap classes there. Isn't that what it sustains? Like the shows.
What kind of classes do they have?
They have like comedy classes, improv and shit.
Oh, can you teach? Well, maybe you can teach improv, huh? Do you believe you can teach stand-up?
I believe you can teach somebody. I think you can help somebody, encourage them to get on stage, but I don't think you can teach the ability to be funny.
No.
I don't know what, stand up in what capacity. Like, I guess you could teach somebody you can mold their thoughts into jokes and help them and shove them on stage, but I don't know what kind of comedian that makes.
Yeah, I feel like, boy, it's one of those things where I've learned a lot about it. So I always wonder, like, maybe you can teach something, because I've definitely learned some shit.
Well, yeah, I mean, people, I think there are, if you find out your favorite comedian, sits down and writes an hour a day at a Starbucks or whatever, you go, oh, maybe I'll try that.
Right.
Like little tricks and things like that. But I don't know. I don't know anyone who's, who I deeply, deeply admire, who would credit all their success to their comedy classes.
No. Well, there's not enough classes. That'd be like a real poor focus group. But I know Ari did an interesting thing a while back where he used to go to a town, like when he was doing stand-up, and like he was headlining for the weekend, he would go to a town and he would do like a free seminar for the local comics. Tell them Like, this is how you get a manager. Stop asking people to take you with them on the road when you're 2 months into comedy. Stop asking, managers to handle you. Like, you just got to get good first. And you would give them all this advice about, like, getting an agent and.
Yeah, I went to Penn, UPenn recently, and I was talking to some students, and I don't like fancy myself like an instructor of any kind, but they were asking me, about comedy, writing is specifically and stuff. And the advice I gave was very practical and had nothing to do with the craft, which was just like, don't be annoying in the room. Don't, like in a TV, like like in the writing for like a TV show, and like jokes don't work. Don't go, that didn't work. That's not your job to say that. Like that kind of shit of just like how to get through the first year without annoying everybody. I think that's not like taught.
Right. Yeah,
like
that's
no one
smart.
ever does, shut up. Like shut up is a great rule.
You can make big mistakes.
Yeah, you could be a
also,
person that nobody wants to work with. It doesn't matter how talented you are.
Yeah. Writers oftentimes are very awkward, right?
They can be. It depends. Like the rooms are very split into, when I got into like sitcom stuff, like it's just very split into very just internal kind of what you would typically think of as like a writer, and then there's a couple comedians sprinkled in there who kind of bounce more jokes around. It's just and then people who are just good at structure.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing, the people that are good at structure. Because sometimes they try to be funny.
Sometimes, but it's not, once you fight, the thing I like about like those rooms, obviously it's so much fun to be in a room with comedians, but once you realize, that person can do a thing I can't and I can do a thing they can't, you start to realize like, we could go into a room and get a lot of work done together. That
is the thing, right? It's like lining up the pieces. No matter how much you want a square and a circle to line up, they just don't seem to. And when you have like a writer's room or anything like that, I think a big part of it depends on just the fortunate chemistry of all the people coming together.
Yeah, and that first day where you show up, if it's not your room and you haven't hired anybody and you don't know who's there, is terrifying. Because you show up and you know within 5 minutes if this is going to be a fun X number of months or if you're just going to be trudging through.
What's the biggest shit show you ever had to work on?
I've had really like tremendously good luck as far as like just working with friends and stuff on so many things. But I worked on a award show once, and the boss basically didn't let me write jokes. Like they needed to hire a woman, and I guess I was recommended. And I was like, I'll take a stab at these jokes, and he was like, no, just write the banter where it says like coming up next is this person, and I was like, well, anyone can do that. But he just literally wouldn't allow me to write jokes.
So you got hired as a joke writer, and then once you got there, he just wanted you to write narrative?
Just banter. Just like, like our next guest is, from The Hangover, and please welcome him.
Does there specific? Is that what they call it? They call it banter, like when you're writing things.
Well, no, I mean like that. In my 20s, I wrote on a lot of award shows, so there's like the jokes, the monologue, all that stuff, and then there's just the going out to commercial and coming back in. All that stuff has to be written,
right?
And sometimes they try to make it funny, and sometimes they don't.
But
like,
do you break it up? You guys break it up in terms of like these are the jokes, this is the banter, this is the narrative, this is the structure.
Yeah, I was just writing on the NBA awards that are going to be on in I think the 26th of the month. Drake is hosting on TNT, and it's just like I've written on the ESPYs before, so this is like that, but for just NBA, and we've been doing. It's a combination of like I write a lot of monologue jokes. There's other guys who are better at sketches, like film sketches, tape pieces. There's live comedy stuff on stage. Then there's like I said, like the kind of a little more boring, like this next person is the 2-time MVP.
So why did this guy hire you? You really think he hired you just because you needed a woman?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I know he did.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, I knew it all. I knew it all when it was happening. Yeah.
Ew.
That was
Wouldn't
weird.
even let you try?
No.
That's foolish.
Yeah, it was bizarre, and it was the only case of sexism that I think I've been confronted with. Which is, I guess lucky in 15 years. I don't feel like I've
that's super
I've
lucky.
had that, and I was on. For years and years and years, I never worked with another woman. I was the only girl, and everyone treated me great. So.
It's a tougher road for comics to be a woman.
Yeah, I can't. It's so funny now. It's so hard to the landscape right now, I think so many women are being given chances that didn't even exist 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see, but I never had, I don't know, I never had like those kind of sexist roadblocks, if that makes sense.
I think that like starting and developing as a female is more difficult, just from my personal observations, because men a lot of times don't want to laugh at women. They definitely don't want to laugh at women telling them things about like politics or world events.
Right.
Like a woman that seems informed, like for whatever reason, they'll tolerate a guy that's, especially if it's a guy like Ron White, right? Distinguished looking gentleman with silver hair.
Absolutely. One of my
Beautiful
favorites.
voice. If Ron's up there and he tells people something about some sort of a fact, like people will sit back and listen. Oh, I didn't know that. If a woman gets on stage and tells a man or group of men about a fact, it's very rare. They're going to go, wow, I didn't know that. That's amazing. What the fuck does this bitch know? Like, right? So there's that. That's a roadblock. And then the other roadblock is, there's a lot, like you can do sex jokes now. Obviously, Sarah Silverman kind of broke a lot of that down where so much of her act was just straight dirty and hilarious. And then Amy Schumer, of course, and a lot of other people. But it's still, when you're developing, when you're starting out, it's like more, it seems like it's more of a difficult world to navigate than a guy telling sex jokes. Yeah,
it's a difficult world, and it's also like socially, I think the precarious. It's interesting because what I realized when I was 19, 20 was, you like that aspect of people like dating in the scene and all that kind of stuff. All that happens too, and I found that if a woman who was newish, around like my level at the time, was dating somebody else, they were automatically looked at as like a comedy groupie, and that was the thing that didn't apply to men. That was the one part where I was like, I don't quite get that.
That's
like I knew
not totally true, because I've seen some guys that are dating like famous women, and they're sort of like underling sort of men, stand-up comics, and everybody treats them like they're a comedy group.
You think? I saw that a lot when I was younger. That the opposite, where I didn't see men getting tagged with that with that label, but I was so scared and paranoid of being. I was so scared of being considered anything other than a comedian that I like for years and years didn't date anybody in comedy at all, because I was worried that if I showed up to a show with a guy who potentially was more successful than me, then the first thought would be, she's the girl who's with that guy, not she's the girl who's going up next.
Not just that, but she's with that guy because of this.
Right.
Yeah.
She thinks that's going to be the path.
Yeah.
When in fact, there's a lot of people with legitimate relationships where that's not the path. It's just you're attracted to somebody, and eventually I made my way through a few people.
It's just another prejudice. It's just one of those things. Another prejudice that you have to sort of overcome. Like, if you actually like someone and they happen to be a comic, though, what the fuck do you do? Like, you say if you like someone and they happen to be some big-time comedian, like, what are you supposed to do? Not like them now? And they like you? Look at it, you're gonna not like them? That's stupid, too.
It is stupid. But I was terrified of. I don't know. I think I was very eager to impress. I don't know. I was very eager to prove myself, and maybe that is partly, being a woman. As much as I didn't find it harder, I did find myself wanting to prove any stereotype that anyone might have about me wrong.
Right.
I don't feel as much of that as like a mission anymore. I just am who I am, but I think you have a lot wrapped in your head when you're a youngin'.
Especially when you really aren't stable as far as like financially. You're really not a real professional anymore, or yet.
Yeah. And
then once you become one, and once you're established in the community, after a while it's like, what am I wasting my time even thinking about this shit for? So I think it's harder for chicks to develop, but I think once they become good, and once they get out there, there's a lower bar.
I don't know. I think there's. I think the bar is I think the bar is the same height for most good people, and then there's like another bar that's like higher for the greats. Do you know what I mean? I just think I don't think the bar is lower for women. I think it's lower for people who are not as famous, not as successful, not as established, not as good. But I don't know if that I don't know. I think the bar is the same for men and women. I just think it's there's a few different bars.
What I mean by that is that I think that it's easier to get a lot of attention early on if you're good and you're a woman, because there's not that many of them.
Yeah, sure. I think it's I mean, I would apply that to any person who's something that is rare in comedy.
Right. Like a specific
for a little
nationality.
bit, but then you have to prove yourself. You always have to prove yourself. I mean, and then I don't know. I see comedy too in these. There's so many different factions to me. There's people who are so great at stand up, and then as a writer and somebody who tries to make projects and wrap them around people, I also see so many people who I go, that's not my favorite stand-up. That's not a great stand-up in my opinion, but that's somebody I would love to write for. That's somebody I'd love to put in a show. So I see all these columns of comedians, and I judge people accordingly. And I think there are legitimately comedians who are not they're never going to be, Pryor or Carlin or Lou or anybody like that, but you go, oh, I would put them in 100 TV shows as a funny person.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know. I tend to look at it from that perspective too, where I see the potential almost in spite of the material sometimes.
Well, there's definitely that, and there's also the difference between those guys and the guys that are in funny movies, like Adam Sandler type movies.
Sure.
It's got a gang of those guys that are always in those movies, and they might not necessarily be the best stand-ups or the kind of guys you want to see, but they're great in those movies.
Yeah, I mean, but it's I mean, who's, I don't know, in that group, my favorite stand-up is probably Norm, who, I mean, I went to go see they did a Netflix movie and then they had a tour with all the actors, the comedians from it, and it couldn't have been a bit different group of comedians.
Right.
And you go, okay, well, Norm's my favorite stand-up there. I go, is Norm, gonna be the lead of a Adam Sandler movie? Probably not, but he's the person I would go to any theater, any room, any a coffee house, whatever it is, to go see.
Yeah, it's one of those things, I guess, when you look at things in categories. That Kevin Hart does his own stand-up, but you also know that he does movies where other people write the lines, and I'm sure he helps make them funnier and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But he's reading a script essentially.
Yeah.
And then there's people that go on stage doing stand-up, and you could be I guess you could be a really amazing performer, and just have some wizards behind the scenes that write for you, and you could make a fucking incredible stand-up act.
Yeah, it's that stuff's so interesting to
But
me
it's
because
rare.
I have a very specific if I was to boil down the stand-up that the stand-up comedy that I love and respect the most, it has nothing to do with TV, and it has nothing to do with it's just comedians and who they are on stage, and that's how I judge who I love and don't love as a comedian. But there's so many other factors in show business that you have to sort of take into consideration. I mean, we like a lot of people who are very famous who might not be the very best, but we know them the most.
Right. Well, what I was going to say is that when you're doing stand-up, though, for whatever weird reason, the people that we all love the most are almost always people that write for themselves.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult to get, say, you're not going to get Bill Burr to write for some CAA creation. Say if CAA has some fucking comic, he's got perfect cheekbones and he's got a great way of delivering jokes, but he's not capable of writing the right level of material. One of the problems is a guy like Burr writes for his own mind. He writes for his own thing. I'm sure he could write for that guy, but he's not going to get the best stuff.
Right.
It's just not going to be the same.
Well, I've never. I think we've all taken a tag or a segue or something where a friend goes, "Dude, add this to your joke," and you feel like you already wrote it. I mean, I had a 3-year fight with somebody in my 20s over who wrote a joke, and I thought he did, and he said I did in a car, and I refused to do it until he convinced me that I came up with it because I was so paranoid about doing a joke that I thought somebody else wrote. But yeah, I mean, and that's the thing too, is that there's some material that's so fucking great, and I watch it and I go, I don't know how to make that a show. And maybe it's not even supposed to be a show. But someone like Louis, I think, I mean, I repeat his name, he's my favorite, but I could have never written Louis' show. Louis had to write Louis' show.
Right.
But there's a lot of comedians where I watch them and I go, oh, I know what their show is.
Well, Louis had to
and
figure
should
that
be.
out though.
Oh,
When
absolutely.
he did Lucky Louie, he did that show on HBO.
Yeah.
I had a conversation with him after it was canceled at the Improv, and the first thing he said is, I should have written it myself. I would have fired everybody.
Yeah.
And just written it. He goes, it's like the problem, a big part of it is just you're dealing with all these people's visions and you're trying to get yours through, and it's like yours might not necessarily be better, but the problem is it's yours. And in order for the thing to be the thing that you're happy with, like just like your act, it kind of has to come through you. Like, say if you were going to do a Netflix special and they said, look, Morgan, we think you're hilarious. We'd love to do a Netflix special with you. But what we'd like to do is assign a team of executive producers
Yeah.
and writers. And what they're going to do is they're going to change your look. Okay, we're going to go with a goth theme. We're going to put black lipstick on you, and we're going to just, they're going to come up with some fucking nutty thing that they decide to do, and then change the way you deliver material. It would be like, what? Well, what are we doing here?
Right.
And I think that's kind of how Louis felt when he was doing his show. It's like there's all these other voices, maybe not as retarded as a goth vampire black lipstick.
Yeah,
look,
that's.
but,
I mean,
you know.
I get so passionate about making things like other people's things. Like I just get excited. I see somebody on stage and I'm like, I want to, like my job right now is just to develop TV stuff. And does it ever fucking happen?
But
Never.
you still do stand up too. You're
I
still
do a lot.
working
Yeah,
a lot
yeah.
with Stanhope. I know.
Yeah, we're going on tour for 2 weeks on Tuesday, and then he continues, and I have to come back for some writing shit. But I get, as passionate as I get about stand up, I get so fucking into the idea of like seeing somebody go up, seeing the show that they could have, and also wanting them to love it, because I'm like, no, I get you. I'm not going to write anything that you would say that you wouldn't do. Like, you want to be, as the writer on the other side of that, as the person who is sometimes hired to take a comedian and like get a show out of them. Like, I like to hope and think that I have a perspective that someone who's not in stand-up maybe wouldn't have, because I'm like, I've watched this person so long. I know their voice. I know what they're commenting on. I know the way they're commenting on it. And I hope that if I write a script for them and they read it, they're not going to go, fuck, this isn't me.
Right.
Maybe it goes back to like wanting to impress or wanting, to be seen as legitimate, but I would never hand somebody something if I thought that it was remotely embarrassing or against their,
Right, but
against
that's
their-
just you. There's a lot of people will.
Right, but I mean, I find it to be an interesting sort of responsibility, and like when you're hired to sort of develop shows, there's all this shit they bring you, like, hey, there's an article about this. Do you want to write a show about this thing? And I'm like, every time I say no, I want to write something for a comedian.
So that's like your specialty. It's what you want to do.
It's what I want to do.
You just like watching someone from a comedian's perspective and going, I could do something with that.
Yeah, and also like
I could Tim Allen that.
I think that there's so many people you see where you go, they're not as successful as I think they should be, and I think I know how to
fix it.
Fix it,
Dude, you're a cleaner.
I'm a cleaner.
You're a cleaner. you're the person they bring in.
That would be the
wolf in Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
You're the Harvey Keitel character who pulls up in a silver NSX and it takes notes.
Some
Remember
like
that
A&E
dude?
show where it's like, a woman's job is to clean, and then it's like coming in.
She's the cleaner. You have like waders on because you're always
But
fucking stepping through blood.
it actually is like mildly embarrassing to passionately talk about television and show business. Like it's there's a little part of it that's like, who cares and why does it matter? But I don't know. Like
listen, I think anything that's interesting to you should talk about.
Yeah.
And people say, well, you're going to bore the fuck out of people. You are. You're going to bore the fuck out of some people, but you're going to bore the fuck out of some people with things that I think are really interesting. Whether it's whatever, physics, nature, things that I think are fascinating. Some people are going to think it's stupid. Just you have to whatever's interesting. Stand-up's interesting to us. It's always going to be.
I'm into anything that is passionately and intricately discussed. I'm
into interesting shit.
I'm an enthusiast.
That's
I don't
good.
know a lot about one thing, but I love anybody who does.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm 100% with you. I like a lot of cool shit. There's a lot of interesting shit out there.
There's so
you know?
much.
Just anybody who tells me they're bored, I'm like, listen, you're not bored. You're inactive.
Yeah.
You just need to find things that you enjoy doing, and then you will never be bored.
Yeah.
Just keep doing things you like doing. It's just hard for people to get that initial momentum. Just get moving. Go forward.
Sure.
It's not boring. This is not boring. This is crazy. You're a finite life form on a planet. This whole thing's crazy. It's chaos. I got scared as fuck the other day. I saw another article on Yellowstone. They're saying it's a 10% chance that inside this 100 years, there's going to be a super volcano eruption. So inside this, from 2000 to 2000 to 2100, there's a 10% chance that everything dies.
The whole planet?
Everything on this continent, dead. Everything else, all over the rest of the world, is going to be fucked because there's not going to be any sun.
I got to book some Glasgow dates.
That's the move. So I think South Africa might be
Really?
it might be the new place.
New
to go.
Zealand is a big one for people escaping the apocalypse.
New Zealand's awesome.
Yeah, a lot of Americans, a lot of tech people, big money buying land in New Zealand now.
Really?
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I want to go.
Yellowstone supervolcano hit by a swarm of more than 230 earthquakes in 1 week. What in the fuck, people? How many wake-up calls do we need? See, we're not going to be even paying attention to this until the lava is shooting up into the atmosphere. Do you know they didn't even know that it was a supervolcano until like 50 years ago or something? They didn't even know.
I like this podcast. It's just talk about shit and learn how you'll die.
Not always.
No?
Sometimes it's more learn about beautiful things.
I'm scared now, though.
Like Vibram five-finger toe shoes and boxing matches.
Those things like that, though, are why I'm like, why would I quit smoking when I can just wait it out?
Way to think.
Wait it out.
I see what you're saying. But don't you feel like shit when you smoke a lot?
When I smoke a lot,
How often do you smoke? What do you smoke a day?
half a pack.
Oh, that's not that bad.
I mean, right now, but it gets up
crazy.
there when I have deadlines and stuff and I'm writing. I tied it into writing, which is a bad move.
How does that work? I've smoked Tony Hinchcliffe cigarettes.
Yeah.
I smoked a cigarette with him before a show once, and I was like, dude, this gives you like a buzz.
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah, I can't imagine writing or doing stand-up without it. I go, really? I'm like, that's interesting.
Yeah, I've gone over to Hinchcliffe. He's a guy I'll hang out with because similar lifestyle, I guess. It's easy to have a cigarette with him and talk about comedy.
You're both gay? Is that what you're saying?
We're presumed
to be gay?
Presumed to be.
But not. That's hilarious. But what is the thing about writing and cigarettes? Like, what does it do? And what does it do that like a cigar doesn't do?
I don't know. It's it ties into it feels good, and then there's momentum sort of involved, and then you get into a place where you're like, oh shit, I'm in one cigarette I wrote all those pages. I don't know. I mean, I really don't know chemically how the addiction part of it works, but I know I'm a victim of it.
Yeah, well, the addiction part is pretty clearly documented in that movie with what the fuck's his name? Inside Man, guy from Gladiator, Russell.
The Insider?
What the fuck? Yeah, The Insider.
Insider.
Yeah, Inside Man's a different movie, right?
Yeah.
What the fuck's his name? Australian
Russell
dude.
Crowe.
Oh,
Thank
Russell
you,
Crowe.
Russell Crowe. Gladiator, dude. That guy. He was.
Yeah, I didn't see it. I think I don't want to know. I think I like
It's crazy.
saying.
He's a scientist in the
really?
movie. Yeah, and they're trying to kill him because he's releasing all the information. Apparently, there's like hundreds and hundreds of different chemicals that the FDA has approved cigarette companies to add to cigarettes just to get them more addictive.
Yeah, it's interesting too because I'll have I'll put out a cigarette in a glass of water or something, and then I get nervous if the water with tobacco and it touches my skin. I have this paranoia, but I'm like I'll literally inhale every chemical deep into my lungs, into my veins, but I get nervous about touching tobacco-y water.
That's so weird, man. What is it about maybe bringing it into your lungs, you're not seeing it, so it doesn't freak you out as much?
There's I never thought I could be in as much sort of denial about something as I am about smoking, but I enjoy it a lot right now. And
See,
I
that's the
also
thing,
started
though.
late. I started late.
How old were you?
I smoked real casually through my 20s, and then I started a job at 29, 30. I'm 35,
And that's when you started
that's when I
smoking?
really started. That's when I started smoking during the day and writing and smoking.
Oh, before that you would smoke at night only?
Smoke at a party with a drink or something.
And when did you notice that it had crossed over into a part of you?
I think just a couple years into, I was writing on Two Broke Girls, and I was smoking at every possible break. And it just started to pick up where any opportunity to go outside and smoke, I took. And then I couldn't stop.
Yeah, I hate to be that proselytizing health guy. You ever tried dip? That'd be a good thing.
No, I want to try some stuff. I just, I want to try, like, I can't even, I'm not even allowed to, like, I'm on a lot of, like, antidepressants and stuff, so they don't want me to take the medication that helps you stop or any of the gums and stuff. It's all supposed to fuck up your brain chemicals.
Oh, really?
Yeah. How weird.
You're on a lot of antidepressants?
I mean, I'm on a
I like to talk shit about
a
people
happy
smoking
hour
cigarettes
cocktail.
while I'm smoking weed.
I'm on a nice, cocktail of
Stuff? What is the stuff?
Right now, what am I, like a Fexer is like kind of the main, things are sort of dabbled in there. It depends on the time of year.
You get on different things, different time of year? You have a summer blend?
Almost 20 years of being on stuff, I've been switched around a few times.
Dude, 20 years. You started in high school?
Yeah.
Henry Rollins got put on
Saved my
Ritalin.
life in high school.
I'm sure.
100%. Like,
Really?
not, yeah, I mean, it was where the turn, I mean, I've had a couple of instances of I don't want to do this anymore, I don't want to be on it anymore, tried to go off and realize I needed it, but, high school was the biggest turnaround,
Just
180.
the stress of
I don't know,
growing
I
up,
was just a mess, and then some doctor, after a year of being a mess was like, try this. And
So you were suicidal?
yeah, 16, moved around every year. It was just a chaotic.
That always fucks people up, but it always creates interesting people. Everybody I know that's interesting had some sort of a weird childhood where they moved around a lot. By the way, how annoying is it when someone starts making a point while they're holding a joint? Like, this is a very important point I'm going to make, right?
Yeah. You also know you're not getting that joint till the end of the point.
You have to sit there like fixated like a dog waiting for a treat.
But yeah, I lived with my mom till I was like, 14, 15, and then I lived with her sister, and I lived with my dad's sister, and I lived with some family friends, and I lived with my dad for the first time when I was like 17, and I just bounced around LA, Connecticut, Oregon.
Jesus.
And I was just brutally depressed and couldn't, I mean, obviously there were big environmental factors, but at the end of the day, it was more than therapy and stuff.
Dude, your life was the plot of the movie Twilight.
Never saw it. Should I see it?
Oh, for sure. It's a classic. It is a classic now, right? Twilight is a movie that was fucking massive.
Yeah.
Massive.
Yeah.
And now never discussed.
gotta
Never
go see
discussed. Not discussed at all. Like, people will talk about Star Wars to the end of fucking time. No one's going to talk about Twilight in a couple of years.
No.
They're just not going to.
There might be like a 20-year reunion where all the girls who watched it when they were 13 go see it again.
Yes, sure. But there's going to be a bunch of people like, what the fuck was wrong with us? Like, what did we do? Like, what happened as a culture? What happened as a society where we decided that all of a sudden vampires are allowed to go out in the day, werewolves have abs, they can change to a wolf whenever the fuck they want? Like, what are you doing?
Wasn't there a lot of vampire shows for a minute too?
Oh, yeah.
And they're
True
all
Blood.
gone now too.
Yes. Everybody went
It's just
crazy on
zombies.
vampires. Zombies are dead to me. They're boring as fuck. You try to put out a zombie movie now, nobody gives a shit. Like, oh, I get it. It's gonna walk slow, and you're gonna get away, and the people that you really like are gonna live. Boring.
Like, here's what the movie's about. They're not zombies. Are you excited now?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yes. And no. The movie is. It's about a guy, and his daughter becomes a zombie. He loves his daughter, but she's a zombie. Get it? There's an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie like that.
Oh, that
His
was always
daughter
the
became a
saddest.
zombie.
The saddest part of Walking Dead was when you realize like someone had like their daughter chained up in a room because
Yep.
he couldn't, bring himself to
Yeah.
put a spike through her head. So he just kept the zombie daughter.
Oof. You know what's fucked up? That is not entirely impossible. It's entirely impossible that the bodies would stay active like long after they're deteriorating. I mean, that show's been going on for years. These zombies have been alive eating nothing for years. No digestive tract. Somehow or another their flesh stays on their bones. Their tissue allows their body to keep moving. It's ridiculous, right? That they even have anything in their brain at all that allows them to keep moving. But as far as like a disease that changes the host and makes the host super. It's fucking rabies. It's rabies on steroids.
Very possible.
Very possible. With all the horrible things that happen to like all these different animals in terms of like parasites getting in their system and forcing them to commit suicide and all the. You ever seen that aquatic worm one? It gets into a grasshopper and then talks the grasshopper into jumping into water and drowning so it could pop out of its body.
No.
Develops in its body. And then like the alien in the movie Alien that bursts out of the chest, literally rips out of the thing's body in the water. And then that's how it gets born. Like it gets into the grasshopper's body and then rewires the grasshopper's brain when it's time to hatch and convinces this fuck to jump into the water.
Mm-hmm. It's the beauty of childbirth.
Well, you can live. You can make a bunch of kids. Look at the Duggars. Don't they have like 20? There's not a single time they've been drowned. But if you stop and think about that being real, like how weird is it, the idea of a person becoming a zombie? That's not weird at all. Are you becoming some super hyper aggressive thing like a rabid dog? That's not weird at all. Look at this thing come out of its body.
I don't like it.
Look at it. I'm not a fan of any.
This is horrific.
It's huge. And the grasshopper's just gutted. And this thing now is swimming around in the water. And there's a ton of those. There's one that happens with ants and a wasp. I forget who takes over who. But there's God, find that one. There's ants. I want to say that the ants take over the wasp.
Like a lot of them?
Something happens where they rewire its brain. Is that a botfly?
Oh, no.
A wolfworm. Wolfworm coming out of rabbit. Oh, Jesus. That was one of the things in that movie Rats. Did you ever see that movie Rats?
No, but it looks like
Netflix documentary. That thing's huge. Holy shit. That's a wolfworm.
It looks like a grosser, like Groundhog Day thing.
It looks like the first 2 digits of your pinky. Like it's literally that big, right? It came out of a rabbit. But that documentary on Netflix, Rats, was all about how many rats live in like New York City and urban areas. Fucking insane documentary. I can't recommend it enough. Like I always kind of knew there was a lot of rats in New York.
Yeah.
You always hear the numbers. But when you see like guys who are exterminators or people who work with rats and they go down in the basement, it's like there is an underbelly to New York City and a lot of other cities too, Los Angeles for sure, where swarms of rodents are underneath the city. Swarms. More than there are people probably. Like there's no way for them to count. They do rough estimates. They really have no idea. But you see them everywhere. They've got cameras that are dipped into probes, and they're smart as shit. But one of them had this botfly, and they pulled this botfly out of its body. It's like if you were carrying a football in one of your tits. Like literally, just they pull this thing out of its body. They pulled it out of its neck, actually. It's fucking huge. It's like as big as its neck almost.
Yeah, I'm a real pussy when it comes to bugs. And
you should be. They're terrifying.
They're the worst. I saw a spider in Arizona last week that was, it was half my fist. It was like it had an exo shell, it looked like it was wearing armor. Horrific.
God. What kind was it?
I don't know. Dead.
Did you take a picture?
Now.
Did you stomp?
Yeah, I killed it.
Good for you. Strong move.
I couldn't. I'm not going to go to bed with a
without their living
with a bug somewhere in my house.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird shit in Doug's area.
That's where I saw it over Bisbee area.
He's right next to Mexico. He's like knocking on Mexico's door. You can
Yeah.
run to Mexico, like literally.
Yeah, none of those spiders had papers. I asked.
Build that wall. Build that wall. Just let the Mexicans in. Just everybody relax.
That's terrifying when you leave his area and they you got to pull over and stop and they ask you if you're an American citizen.
Yeah, that's weird.
And then you go, yes.
I know a dude who has a ranch and it's in South Texas, and they find dead people on their ranch sometimes, where people tried to cross
Passed
and they just die of dehydration.
Ugh.
Yeah, out in the desert. Fuck. That's a hard way to go. And then these ranchers just find them, you know? Scary shit. And you don't know who the other thing is, like, for him and his place, like, you don't know if this guy's going to be a nice guy just trying to come over here and get a job, or if this guy's a drug runner and a murderer. Like, you really don't know. You just know there's a person in your ranch that's not supposed to be there, and they might not even speak English. And like, woo.
I'm trying to think of something I would die to get to. I don't.
It seems to me to
guess
be.
I'm here.
A lot of people get mad at me when I say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I think it's something that's going to go away. The idea of countries and you can only go one place. Like if you're born on this patch of dirt, you can only stay on this patch of dirt. It's an impediment to progress, and it's an impediment to equality. And I think that there's going to come a day where people are just going to be able to travel anywhere they want. And we're not going to look at it like cities, and we're not going to look at it like in terms of like, you're like, if you live in Boston, you can move to Cleveland. If you live in Cleveland, you can move to Miami.
Right.
Like you can move wherever you want. But as soon as you have a country, you can't move. You have to have papers. You got to get approved. What kind of job do you have, Morgan? Do you have a specific skill that would benefit America, and instead of the rest of our sloppy fucks that half of them don't do jack shit? Are you better than the average person? Why should we let you in? We only want to let quality people in. That's it.
I would never be able to prove myself in that moment as being worthy of getting into any country.
They have a term
with
for
a
it.
skill.
It's like exceptional skill.
Yeah.
A person of exceptional skill. It just seems fucked. Like, I don't know. It seems barbaric. Like, it really does. I know people are like, oh, man, just fucking, you gotta understand, American sovereignty, it's very important, and the rest of the world's fucked up. We've managed to figure out. We got lucky. We got lucky and we got shit out on the right patch of dirt.
Yeah, sure. And we have resources that a lot of other countries don't have. And I don't know. I love to travel internationally, and I love, putting myself in places that are, that don't have what we have, if that makes sense. Like I enjoy,
just for perspective.
I enjoy making a vacation sort of a combination of pleasure and perspective as much as I can, and going places that, make you realize what you have at home.
I wonder if it holds. Do you think that it holds back both sides? Do you think it holds back Mexico, that the United States is so difficult to get into, and there's always like this despair of certain people trying to get into Mexico,
right,
trying to get into America and can't. What I was going to get at is that I think that it's kind of similar in some way, and I might be off, but it's similar in some way to making drugs illegal. Mm-hmm. That like you make drugs illegal, then you create this this increased demand, and then it's outlawed. So only people that are willing to break the law sell it, and so you this criminal enterprise attached to something that should be perfectly legal.
Right.
Like
so if you're
marijuana.
you're
Travel.
already breaking the law by coming here.
Right. Yeah.
So are you a person who's going to break the law?
Right. You're going to be
Yeah,
a
I don't
person
know.
that takes that, I think, and also profit off of it by being
Right.
like one of those carriers.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I grew up in LA, and I think I had I didn't realize that it was illegal. As a kid, you don't know laws or rules or anything. So I just assumed that Mexico and California, because I would, most of the kids I went to school with were Mexican. Like I just assumed that it was like a place where people live in both places and you go back and forth a lot. And, the Mexican culture was so sort of, my whole backdrop of my childhood was painted with that. So I just kind of assumed that you went where you wanted to.
Yeah.
And like that LA was mostly Mexican, and that was fine.
Yeah, it should be fine, right? And people are like, what are they going to come over here and take our jobs? They're going to come over here and ruin our quality of life. Or is it all going to even out? Like maybe it just evens out. Isn't that possible? Like,
yeah, I also, it's beyond cliche to say, but are people taking jobs that Americans are dying to do? No.
Yeah. Well, see, and also if they come over here, if they could just come over here, then you have to pay them the same rate. It's like you have to pay them the same rate that everybody gets paid.
Sure.
Because there's wage limits. There's minimum wage. Like if you have them illegal, you can pay them whatever the fuck you want. Mm-hmm. And they do. That's like the big housekeeper dilemma. How the fuck are housekeepers asking for a raise? They're not asking for a raise. They can't say shit.
Every time the word housekeeper comes out of my mouth, I get a little red, a little embarrassed because I have a housekeeper now. I never had,
Makes you feel bad?
It doesn't make me feel bad. I absolutely, I couldn't love her more, and she's very much become kind of a pseudo mother figure of mine in LA. I don't have family here really, but I also feel like that makes me sound like a pretentious white person who's taking care of a person of color. It really, it's not it's not a comfortable subject for me to talk about, and yet I couldn't be more like earnestly grateful and thankful, and I couldn't adore her more, and really she helps me function in life, and yet the subject is, I mean, I didn't grow up with that kind of stuff, so it's interesting.
It's embarrassing.
It's embarrassing.
Well, as long as you pay her well and you're nice to her,
Yeah.
it's just a job. As long as she enjoys doing the job and she gets paid well,
Yeah.
it's just a job. There's nothing wrong with being a garbage man. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with any job.
Yeah, I mean, she's known me through apartments, and so
Right.
it's interesting when someone's just a part of your life and seems to care about you more than you even think they should. If that makes
Well, you're her boss.
I'm her boss, but
She
she's the
relies on
only
you.
person in my home, and I trust her, but she also seems to care about me in this way. She wants me to have a kid. Like, she's like, it's all these things that I don't really talk to my mom's. Like, I have this housekeeper who's like, you should have a baby and then I'll take care of you. She has like a plan for my whole life.
Well, listen
I don't have
to
it
her.
yet.
Listen to her. It sounds like you've got some sort of a partner,
Yeah,
a life partner.
I do have a life partner.
You do. Your housekeeper is a
Teresa.
life partner. I don't know. It's always a touchy subject because there's historically been people that have come from other places and they've immigrated into places, and then they create neighborhoods, and they're a certain class of people initially, and then they move through society. And I mean, my people have experienced it. The Italians, like when my grandfather came over here, there was all these like negative stereotypes for Italians, and there's all these slurs, like they used to call them like guinea wop and all these different terms that were like hurtful. Like today, if you call someone a guinea, no one, like I would say I'm a guinea, like nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
Call Sebastian a guinea, I'd be like, yep. Like it doesn't bother anybody, It's like they became a class of people that normalized. They fit in with like regular white people.
Yeah.
Well, like Italians were not considered white people the same way a lot of people from the Middle East that have like the same skin tone aren't considered white people by some people today. But if it became just a normal part, like Irish people, became you're an Irishman, Irish woman,
Yeah.
Irish woman.
If they could
Morgan
only
Murphy.
become white people
Yeah, if they just figured out a way
to get white.
to get whiter, we should just got to be a way. Just keep
gotta
them
be,
indoors.
yeah.
Move them to Oregon. After a while, they'll evolve. The lack of sun, they will evolve into being white people. Yeah. I don't know. I just think, anytime you restrict things that should be normal, like move into a better spot, so you can't move to a better spot. Like,
Right.
oh, I can't? Like, what if I buy a house in that spot? Nope. Can't move to that spot.
Well, I mean, it's sort of arbitrary, and like, how do you? There's some. I'm very fascinated by like migration in general of like towns where, or you're encouraged to stay. Like that's always very interesting
Right.
to me.
Don't
Like
leave,
sometimes,
Morgan.
don't leave. Like, what if you were told you can't stay? You have to leave, and you have to go populate this other area. Like, what's the difference? It just we're choosing where people can live, and we don't know what would be the best place for them. We don't know if the best place for them is right next door to you, even if you don't want it.
I was watching a guy on TV. They were doing this interview with him. He was a coffee farmer in Hawaii, and he started out as a 15-year-old in America. So he's been in America from the time he's 15. He was in his 40s now. He has a family. He's been in America for more than, I think they were saying like 30 years. Okay. So this guy, wife, family, worked his way up from being a worker at this coffee farm to owning the fucking coffee farm. I think he owned it. Sounds better if I say he owned it. He might have been the manager. He had a big job. He was a big man at the coffee farm. And they're kicking him out. They're moving him to Mexico. They're exporting him.
Jesus. And
he just got some stay. Like where they allowed him to stay like a couple more months to appeal his case. But I'm like, Jesus Christ, the guy did it. Like
Yeah.
he came over here.
Yeah.
He was 15. He's a part of America now. He's 30-something years old or 40 years old, whatever
Yeah.
the fuck he is.
He could have already served time for murder. Like he could have done a full.
Yeah, he could
like,
have done his sentence
He's done
already.
his time positively.
He's actually doing well. He's doing what you want. He's being a productive member of society. He's employing other people. He's making coffee, which I'm not going to fucking grow coffee. I need someone to grow that goddamn coffee. That guy's doing a great job. That's a fucking American.
It is.
To make a move.
It's crazy.
It's like make you move to where you moved around a lot. Where the fuck were you when you were 15?
I was in Connecticut.
Yeah, you're in Connecticut and I'm in Massachusetts. We have to move. Imagine thugs come knocking on our door with combat boots on, holding guns, and say, listen, Morgan, you got to move. You can't stay in California anymore. There's too many people in California. You got to go back to the East Coast.
It's insane.
It's the same thing that they're doing to this guy.
It's insane. It's. I don't know. I don't get it. But I went on. You were when we did the End of the World podcast. You guys did that one. I remember coming out at the end, hammered. As I say, hammered since I had been hammered since Florida results came in. So and everything was already done. And I show up, and it's a murderer's row on stage. And I get there and I have only feelings. I have nothing in my brain is working to connect pieces or really be, remotely sort of eloquent. I just came out and I was like, this is bad for people and everyone's going to be racist and people should be able to do what they want. Like I just
and then
had
you and Sarah Tiana started making out.
Did we?
You don't remember that?
I didn't make out with anybody.
No, just kidding.
I don't
Sarah
make out with
Tiana was doing the
comedians
same thing.
in front of anybody. But Burr just hammered me. I mean,
course.
he came back with basically, I felt there was like a lot of energy that I came in with the worst thing that's ever happened just happened.
Right.
That was my energy. And I felt like there was a lot of, it might not be that bad.
Well,
energy that night.
Let me tell you what's really
hammered.
going on. But this is what's really going on. First of all, you got a bunch of comics in front of an audience.
Right.
That's the number one
Right.
thing that's happening. This fucking election is to us, to me and Burr and anybody else who's there, is like this is an opportunity to talk shit, okay? And the fact that there's an election going on, like we'll deal with the consequences of Donald Trump being president later. But right now we're here to make people laugh and have fun. And Burr is on fire.
He was on fire.
He was on fire.
Yeah.
He shines in those things like no one.
Yeah.
He was just like one after the other, smashing it. There's a video online you can get on YouTube that's like the best of Bill Burr at the End of the World podcast.
Yeah.
He's just slaying.
Oh no,
and
it was,
glorious.
and I came in and I threw a cup of gasoline on the fire with my opinions. I was like,
But it's not really an opinion. I mean, it's like you have to understand from the perspective of, I'm not saying you have to understand, but the people listening.
Right.
Like when we do something like that, there's a bunch of comics and there's an audience. Like we're not always going to deal with what's going on. We're not going to be somber and really be considering the fact that, okay, well, now we don't have a president anymore. We've just elected a buffoon to the biggest popularity contest in the world. That's what we did.
Right.
A popular person won now, and now we're fucked. And he's an egomaniac, and now he's in charge of the nukes. Congratulations. Oh, you can fire the FBI guy. Look at that. You just let a reality star just start firing the people that you need for critical intelligence, people that have been involved in the intelligence industry and the intelligence community for decade after decade after decade. You let this reality star just start firing people.
It's nuts. But it was also the best place I could have ended up that night. Like, I can't imagine having spent, I think I went to bed at like...
Should have got together with Jen Kirkman.
7 a.m.
Should have been a wonderful time. I looked at her Twitter and I was like, I just got to stay away from that thing. You guys are freaking me the fuck out. Like, Jesus. This is a bad system. It's been a bad system since people figured out how to make phone calls. As soon as people figured out how to make phone calls, you didn't have to get a guy on a fucking horse that carries your vote and your request for sovereignty in your personal state by a messenger that has to take it to some fucking representative, has to take it to Congress on this fucking boat. Like, you don't have to do that anymore. So since we don't have to do this anymore, this idea of one person running the whole shebang through a representative of each individual state, it's archaic.
Yeah.
The communication is too good now. The bottleneck is the system. The system needs to be redesigned. It needs to be redesigned. It's not impossible. No one's saying we shouldn't have government. I'm not an anti-government person. Just like I'm not an anti-military person or an anti-police person. I just think it all has to be managed and engineered the right way. Like, you can't have just complete anarchy in this country, but we have to have the will of the people. And right now, it's definitely not the will of the people. This is just some weird system that someone's figured out a way to win, and then once they're in the system, we're realizing all the flaws of the system. People are quitting and getting fired. And you're like, well, this is not the most efficient way to run this thing.
Right, but there's no within the system. There is no here's how you change the system. Like that hasn't been established. So then you have to do that in a way that doesn't, make everybody implode. So
but the system, the design of the system, and this is more than I've paid attention more to the political system in the last 2 years than I think I have in my entire life. But there's all these checks and balances that are in place to sort of prevent someone who's an irreputable person getting into a position of power and then changing everything. There's enough checks and balances to keep that in place. And I think that's important, and that's a beautiful thing. And having all these representatives that represent both conservative and liberal attitudes kind of keeps things in balance to a certain extent. But it's not the best way to do it.
No.
The best way to do it would be to get a guy like Elon Musk and say, hey, man, the way you figured out how to put fucking tunnels under the earth where the cars go on sleds, and that eliminates all the traffic in LA. And the way they figured out how to make like a solar box that sits in a garage on the wall and it powers your whole house from the roof. And the way they figured out how to make roof shingles that are actually solar powered. And the way they figured out how to make an electric car that can go 350 miles. How about tell us how to run this thing?
Right.
Like, you're definitely smarter than me.
Yeah,
like
I mean,
most
but
people.
Also, then does he make the decisions? Is it like, because I always think about like when they change rules in Major League Sports. I always find it like interesting, like that a group of people got together and like, now what is it? Overtime, football overtime's shortened now, and they like I go, oh, now it's 10 minutes, now it's 5 minutes, and we all just go, okay, like who's the board? Who's the person who gets to say, okay, now this is the way that the government works? I mean, that's its own process.
Well, football's very different, obviously, because it's a game, and you're trying to make the game better and more exciting. If they were just trying to fuck with people and make politics more exciting, maybe that would be more. Maybe that would work.
Oh, just make it. How do we make this better? How do we make this better? How do we make people like this more? How do we make people feel like they're involved? How do we do this? But again, you're saying like changing the rules. It seems like that. I don't know how long something like that takes. Is it over generations? Is it tomorrow the rules are this? I mean, how do you do that?
I think you make people park at the bottom of a hill, and you put the voting booth at the very top of the hill, and only the people that can actually, like, unless you're physically handicapped, then you get a pass. Then we'll figure out another test for you. But only the people that figure out how to get their fucking lazy ass to the top of that hill, those are the only ones that get to vote.
All right. Fine by me. But that's the thing, is that you're going to have to tell somebody what the rules are, and you're going to hope they say all right. I'll probably say all right.
Mountain hikers are just going to run the world. Alex Honnold is going to be our president. That rock climber dude, he's going to be number one. Now, I just think that if we just come up with an alternative system that somebody designs, and we slowly implement it, like in stages. But every time someone doesn't like something, everyone is so aggressively angry now, and everyone is kind of, on the precipice of snapping. And I feel like any kind of suggested change to a lot of people is terrifying. It is terrifying, and it should be, because if somebody fucks it up and Putin's this whole thing, that could be a big goddamn disaster too. That's always possible. Like, this is as close as that's come. Like, this is as close as it's come to something where he's got a 33% approval rate or something like that. Except the poll that he found says 50%.
Yeah.
Well, isn't that hilarious that you can put up a picture that says 50% of the people like me, and then you'd be like, wow, he's really doing a great job. Like, you're never going to see a president with a 100% approval rate. It does not exist.
It's so tragic. I mean, he is. I can't think of a time my brain has been this consumed by a president.
Right.
Like, positive or negative. I mean, I liked Obama, but I never thought about him as much as I think about Trump.
Even if you have like things like vitamins, vitamins would not have a 100% approval rate.
Right.
There's people that would like, fuck vitamins. I don't even need them. They suck. And they would give it a...
Well, like actual Western medicine doesn't have 100% approval. There are people who go like, no, I don't want any treatment for my cancer. I'm going to...
Well, that's because there's alternatives, and there's some people that believe that you can do more work, like to cure or to halt cancer in its tracks by altering your diet, improving your immune system.
I
don't know if they're
believe
right.
that more than like no, the Lord will provide my medicine.
But I think more and more doctors are acutely aware of the factor that nutrition plays now.
Mm-hmm.
I think they make changes to people, not just like give them drugs and give them, anti-cancer medication, but there's doctors now increasingly more and more that want you to, hey, you drink too much, stop drinking. Are you smoking cigarettes? We definitely got to get you to stop smoking cigarettes. We got to get you to eat healthy. Like, here's what's important.
I feel like you're directly talking to
No,
me
I'm not
right now and telling me.
I just think that you have to pay attention to doctors too. Like, these motherfuckers might have figured out a way to cure your cancer. Like, you got to listen.
Yeah.
You can't listen to the holistic healer lady that has incense burning in her fucking house.
You listen to
She
both.
smells of patchouli. Maybe.
A little from column A.
Got to be careful. Those patchouli smelling motherfuckers.
I just did some weird. I did a colonic at some hippie ranch type place.
Dude, you had a pipe up your ass?
I had to pipe up my ass.
What was that like?
It was oddly positive experience, and I didn't think it would be. I was in Bisbee around Doug's place, and I took off for the day and got a colonic.
Wow. Have you done that before, or was it on a whim?
Semi on a whim. Not. It was like I called to play. I was looking for healthy things to do in the desert, and that was one of them.
What percentage of people take colonics on a whim? Like, what percentage? Is it even 10? Where people would just walk down the street like, it'd be fun?
We should really, I don't think there's a lot of colonics places that are like advertised for foot traffic. So,
like Santa Monica Boulevard, come on in. We'll stick a pipe up your ass.
But I try, it's that thing where I'm not like you. I don't have a healthy lifestyle. So I find myself hitting walls and then reaching, kind of grasping for activities that seem healthy and enjoyable, which is why I've like, I try, I'll go to boxing, surfing, I'll go play basketball. But I don't do it as consistently as I ought to. That's why it's always impressive to see you, in peak form constantly.
Do things you like doing. That's it.
I do. I like sport. I love sports.
Then
but,
do that. That's a great way to
try
stay healthy. For me, I found out somewhere along the line, though, for me to be better at certain sports, I have to do shit I don't want to do.
Yeah.
Like lift weights, run hills, like stuff like that. Like, if you don't do those things, you don't have, like, if you want to make an analogy to machines, like, you have a weird opportunity with your body where, say, if you're in a race, you can turn your body into a sports car. Like, you can literally turn your body into something that does something a regular car can't do. It can move faster, could pick up more, it can explode, it can make corners better. Like, you can do that to your body. You can give your body balance. Like, you take a yoga class 2 days a week for 4 months. Don't tell me your body's not better. It's going to move better. It's going to be more balanced. You're going to be able to change the suspension on your car, literally, by putting in the work. But the work can suck a fat one sometimes.
It's hard, Joe.
Dude, I know.
So hard.
It ain't easy. But you got to get excited about doing hard shit.
I get excited about the prospect of getting in better shape after the age I am now than I was before. Like, I get excited about being that person that I've seen happen. I'm like, I've seen people do that, get in better shape after 35. I guess I can do it.
But there has to be, like,
the idea of doing
something.
it is thrilling, but I can't. It's getting there. It's
but you
doing the
don't
work.
Want it bad enough, Rocky.
I know. I know. I don't.
There is no tomorrow. It's my favorite quote in every movie. Yeah, you know what you got to do?
What?
This is the big one for everybody. For everybody listening, write down shit you have to do. I do it. I write down things I need to work on, things I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Like, I wrote down my schedule for the week. I wrote down, like, this week, I'm going to lift weights 3 days a week. I'm going to run 2 days a week, and I'm going to do yoga 2 days a week, and period. Like, there's no negotiation. So I have to do those things. So I'll do that for the week, and then I'll make sure I make those checks off. There's a lot of times where I want to fuck off, but I know I have to make my schedule. I have to get it in. If I don't get it in, then I fucked up. Like, I gave myself, like, a schedule. But then I get things done. And it doesn't seem any more stressful. In fact, it seems less stressful because I don't have to, like, hem and haw over whether I'm going to do something. Like, I have it written down. I have to do it. And then I just go do it.
Sounds, I'll do that then.
You got to just write it down and stick to the script. Because as a comic, one of the best things about us is that we're impulsive and that we like to blow things off.
Sure.
And we like to question the validity of certain actions. Like, why am I doing that? Fuck that. How about I just jerk off and take a nap or whatever you do? You know, I mean, that's what we do.
Right.
It's what, people are impulsive, and that's one of the reasons why you're funny, because you come up with a thought that maybe other people wouldn't entertain.
Yeah, I mean, I you know, it's just a once I got some downhill motion, I can keep going.
Yeah, it's the momentum thing.
Yeah.
It's the initial start.
I used to go boxing like every day for a few years.
That was when you were in New York, right?
No, I was out here. I was go to the Wild Card like every day for like 3 years.
Oh, that's right.
And then
Morgan Murphy's a big fucking boxing fan. You and I have had long conversations about boxing. You know a lot of shit.
I used to kind of know more. I mean, I get embarrassed with sports stuff because I'm such a fan, but I'm not by any means a statistician. I'm not a good rememberer of even names. I just obsessively watch sports.
Isn't that
hours
funny?
And hours and hours a day.
But isn't that funny though? Like if you're talking about like a television show, like I saw that show. Well, wait a minute, it's a good show. Who was the main character in Lost? What was his name again? And what was there's no shame in that,
right?
But a basketball game from the same time, like who was in the finals?
Yeah, well, I can think of like fights I've been to, and then I can't even think of. I'm like, I know who won the fight. I don't even remember who they fought.
Did you see Kovalev, Andre Ward this weekend?
I watched a little. I listened to a lot about it, but I missed it. That's the other thing too. Is I stay home and watch so much shit. I mean, I love sports. I find it to be the most soothing. Like if I'm in a job, writing something all day, I look at the sports schedule that night and I get excited that I have a thing to do at 8. After my work is done. Like I wrap my days around it. So I'm trying to go out and do more shit as opposed to being locked into a schedule that's determined by what boxing match is on. And I used to stay home to watch everything, and I didn't for that one.
Yeah, I hear you. You get, it comes in waves, right?
But I listen to a lot. I mean, I have opinions about it, having not seen it. It just seems
you still have opinions, like uneducated ones.
Well, just from seeing what I did see, I feel like I get mad about certain stoppages.
Oh, really? Like,
yeah.
What did you see the Kovalev Ward?
Yeah, and I thought it was an early stoppage.
It was definitely an early stoppage.
I don't think you do that when someone's on his way down.
Here's the question, though: did he have a standing 8 count rule? Like, I don't know if there's a standing 8 count rule in that fight. Like, see if there was. Find out if there was.
I feel like there was because I feel like that's what should have happened.
If it happened, but in some fights, I believe they don't have to have a standing 8 count. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think that's the case in all fights, and I think in some championship fights they don't have a standing 8 count, and I think that's a specification that they put.
Yeah, that I don't know. It just seems like an obvious
stipulation.
Yeah, I mean, the last fight. I'm trying to think of.
Jamie will find out. Jamie will find out.
I was in Arizona during the Canelo, the Chavez fight, and I made everybody watch it. And it was a snoozer.
That wasn't a good one.
It was a bad one, and it was the worst part about it was that everyone knew I was the reason the fight was on.
Oh no!
So it was like I couldn't. Every round I wanted to be exciting because I wanted people to not get mad at me for ruining their night, but instead I was responsible for a boring night.
Well,
and then I was like,
I enjoyed it. Even though it was boring.
I just wanted to see who was going to fight Golovkin, and that was my sort of, my horse in the race was whoever was going to win was going to fight my favorite fighter.
But most people thought Canelo was going to win pretty handily.
Sure.
But the problem was that like Chavez didn't really want to put himself out there.
But Chavez has never been a great. He's never been. I don't think his training's ever been.
Right,
amazing.
as disciplined as some. Like Canelo is about that life.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, he's trying to be the best ever.
Yeah.
He's trying to be the best guy.
It's hard to be.
I
can't imagine being a rich kid boxer. It just feels like.
Was he born a rich kid?
Well, I mean, Chavez Jr. I mean, his.
Oh, I thought you meant Canelo.
Oh no! I was just saying that. That just seems like a hard place to come from.
Oh yeah, and he's his dad is the fucking greatest of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Julio Cesar Chavez is arguably the greatest Mexican fighter of all time. I mean, he's up there.
I saw Chavez Jr. fight in at the Staples Center, and they brought his dad out first. I was like, just the poor shadow you got to be in that your dad gets honored before your fight.
It's rough. But you know what? There's this guy, Kron Gracie, and his dad is Rickson Gracie, who's like the greatest jiu-jitsu guy of all time. And the son is a world champion. He's a fucking beast. I mean, he's one of the best guys on the planet Earth. Like, legitimately 100% self-motivated, not like, doesn't need to, it's not like the same sort of Chavez situation.
Right.
So it doesn't always happen that way. But it seems like fighting in
But
general.
the hunger for fighting tends to come from a place of poverty. I mean, it just,
tends to.
Yeah.
But again.
No, it doesn't have to. No. But I mean, even in America, like, what was his name? It's like Rust Belt dude.
Rust Belt?
No, yeah, the guy, this American dude who,
I always forget
I
what the
can't
Rust
remember
Belt is.
his name. He's from
Kelly Pavlik?
Was it Kelly? Yeah, right? Am I wrong?
White guy, shaved head.
white guy, shaved head.
Yeah,
Had a moment.
Bad motherfucker.
Bad motherfucker.
He just ran into Bernard Hopkins. Bernard Hopkins had him figured out. Just tuned him up.
Yeah, I don't know. I
wrote a blog article about that.
Really?
Yeah, about that fight, because it was just a masterful performance by Hopkins. I was actually coming home from a UFC fight overseas. I was in Europe when I watched that fight. And I was like, that motherfucker is so good.
I got to get
so
into
smart.
UFC. I've been watching, but
I'll
I don't
take you
know who
live.
I'm rooting for.
Oh, you root for people.
I just I don't know who's who. I feel I have I think why I just started even watching hockey is like I played so many sports as a kid. Like I can get into the sports I know about, but when I don't know anything about it, it's like working out. It's like doing anything else. I'm uncomfortable getting into something that I come from I have such a huge blind spot about.
Right, I know what you mean.
Where I'm just like, how am I going to learn everything immediately?
I tried to get Ian Edwards to school me on soccer. I didn't last. I tried for a few weeks. We even talked about doing a soccer companion. He took me to a bar once, and we were sitting there watching some game. It was like some big-time soccer game. It was pretty good. It was fun. It's fun being next to Ian because he knows everything.
Yeah.
He knows as much about soccer as I know about MMA.
Yeah.
Like he's just rattling off who this guy is and what this team's about and what their score is. And he has a soccer podcast, too, that he does. I forget who he does it with. You remember who he does it with? I love that dude.
I love him.
He's the best. Such a nice guy. He's the most underrated comic alive today.
He's so funny. I quoted a joke of his in the writer's room at Two Broke Girls, and my boss was like, "Whose joke is that?" And I was like, "Ian Edwards," and he hired him.
It's a great move.
Yeah, but it was just like, oh yeah, Ian's got this joke, and everyone was fucking dying.
I selfishly don't want anybody to ever hire him as a writer again. I want him to just do stand-up.
I think that's what he's doing. I mean, I think he just was a short gig, but
yeah, no, he does them every now and then. But I just feel like people don't know how fucking good he is. He's so good. He's such a good guy.
Yeah,
just one of the best guys ever.
True.
What do you think about this Conor McGregor-Floyd Mayweather fight?
I mean, it's a spectacle. I guess I'm excited. I'm excited about it, but I feel like it's going to be another big notch in Mayweather's belt, and I don't think he needs another one. Like, well, I get a little bit. I respect Floyd Mayweather as a boxer, but it's not the kind of boxing I get excited about watching. Well, even though I know it's technically,
it's gonna
amazing.
It's gonna be a boxing match,
yeah,
for sure. It's gonna be an actual 12-round boxing match. So we're gonna get to see some sort of an athletic competition. But
I just don't see how. Yeah, sorry, I don't see how McGregor can be better than the best boxers in the world who have tried. Yeah,
he won't be. He won't be better than the best boxers in the world. But what he might do. First of all, he's definitely going to make it exciting.
Yeah.
He's gonna the trash talk is going to be fucking
amazing.
Epic. It's going to be epic.
Yeah.
It's going to be a fun spectacle, and he has legitimate, scary one-punch power, and he's way bigger. So it's all about whether or not he can hit Mayweather.
Where are they fighting at? 150 something?
I don't know. That's a good question too. How much weight does he have to lose? How much is Floyd going to make him dehydrate himself?
Right.
Does he even give a fuck? Does he even respect his skills enough to make him dehydrate himself like he did with Canelo? Because he made Canelo cut a shitload of weight.
Sure.
I think he made him fight at 150. Is that correct? Find out what Floyd Mayweather made Canelo Alvarez fight, because Canelo's a big fella.
Yeah.
I've seen him in person. Him getting down to 150 is a rough suck. I think that
it's always scary when you look at these dudes and they just look emaciated before the fight.
It's terrifying.
Like Chavez. I mean, he's a tall guy, so he's.
Well, one of the worst I ever saw was when Conor made it to 145 when he fought Aldo. I was like, Jesus Christ. Like, he looks so gaunt and dried up
Yeah.
at the weigh-ins. And then the next day, he looks like a gorilla.
Canelo came in at 152, it says.
Okay.
And this fight is at 154.
It is at 154? That's what they're making it? Interesting. Okay, well,
This also says,
Connor's not going to have a hard time making it 154.
Now this says Canelo weighed in at 168.
No, that was his last fight with
Oh,
Chavez
okay.
Jr. Chavez Jr., he fought above his weight class, actually. Chavez Jr., I think he was fighting 175, wasn't he? And he came down. Maybe there was a normal weight for Chavez Jr.
Oh, this was for the 30-day weigh-in when he fought Mayweather. This is
Oh,
a month
30,
out.
so
30
30
day.
days out?
Yeah, a month out. He
So he
still
was-
weighed 166.8.
Yeah, well, they had stipulations in the contract, like how big he could be at certain points.
Yeah.
You know, just dirty. They just wanted to dry him out.
I mean, I'm excited. What's the what's the whole card gonna? I mean, are they gonna have all boxing
It's a good
undercards?
question.
Is it? Oh,
It's a good question. I think
It'd be fun to do a little
the only
mix
way
and
this
match.
fight is going to be interesting, skill-wise,
Yeah.
is if Conor figures out a way to maul him. He's almost got to like close the distance quick, get him up against the ropes, and just hit him with like shots while he's holding him. He's almost got to clip him in some sort of weird, awkward, like Maidana-like exchange. You ever see the fight with Maidana that Floyd had, but Floyd got clipped by a big overhand right, I think it was, at the end of one of the rounds. Like, very end of the round, his legs dipped, like, whoa.
Oh, a little jig, a little wobbly.
He got a little dip,
Yeah.
and it's just because he got mauled. It wasn't because skill-wise he was commensurate. And then when Floyd came back in the rematch, he just boxed his face off, just fucked him up, because he just wanted to let him know, like, look, dude, I barely took you serious in that first fight. It got close, but it only got close because of like this sloppy brawl, and then he just put a skill clinic on him in the second fight. Second fight wasn't even close. I think that's the only but that's not how Conor normally fights. He's not like a swarming face-first brawler type dude. He's a guy who's like cautious about getting hit.
Yeah.
It's a
I don't know.
weird-
I'm thrilled about it, but I'm also I wish I knew more about your side of the tracks.
Well, we don't know enough about Conor because Conor has never had a professional boxing match.
Right.
You know, and the thing is, you see his striking, but you only see his striking when he's working on kicks and wrestling and all that other shit too.
What if you just kicked him? Like would that? I mean, just to do it,
Just to let him know?
just to do it.
That would be fucked up.
It'd be fucked up, but it would be hilarious.
Well, I think there's probably some stipulations in the contract that say you can't get him in an arm bar or choke him.
I think just kicking him in the head and knocking him out would be worth losing all the money and then getting more money after
Could
that.
you
for doing
imagine?
that.
He would be a goddamn folk hero. If they got in close, and Floyd was like sucking and juking on the outside and he threw a jab to cover up or a left high kick, and that left high kick necks him, just dang!
Yeah.
And you see Floyd go limp, and he would go limp. He'd never been high kicked like that. Jesus, that would be crazy. Because if he didn't know it was coming,
Yeah.
he could clip him with it. Like if you had no idea, if you hid a kick behind a punch, like a lot of fighters do, they'll like throw a punch literally to cover your face, so the kick is behind it already, and then boom, the kick comes like while your vision is already, you're thinking about the next punch, and bang, the kick lands, and you get KO'd. Happens all the time. If he did that, that would be insane. Would it be worth it? It would, but it would fuck up everything up. Because no one would ever trust another fighter from MMA to ever fight a boxer in a boxing match again. Because
True.
we've only had the opposite happen, really.
Could they, after this, could they do an MMA fight with the two of them? And
No.
just No?
No.
I don't know.
Oh, my God. It would last
Don't yell
30
at me.
seconds maximum.
Really?
And that's if Conor wanted to give him an ear beating for 28 seconds. Look, Conor's so much better as a wrestler, as a submission artist, as a kicker. There's just no way he'll hit him with spinning elbows and shit. Like there's things you can't do in a boxing match that you're not expecting. And if someone just kicks your legs once, you're going to be like, "Oh my God, what the fuck?" Now,
I'm
this is
just
not
trying to think
saying
of a
that
way to
Floyd
milk more
Mayweather-
money out of what's going on. I mean, you know,
Well, it's the only way.
what's going to come in hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars this fight, right?
This is the
So-
only way. This is the
Okay.
only way. But this is a giant, big difference, though. Floyd would have to learn how to fight MMA style. He would have to learn how to stop takedowns. He'd have to learn how to check leg kicks, and he'd have to learn how to defend submissions, and that will take years. And he's not going to do that at 40 years old. I don't know what he knows now as far as wrestling defense and what he knows about kickboxing or jiu-jitsu or anything else. I don't know what he knows. But if he knows nothing, he's 100% fucked 100%, bet the house on it, fucked. Like, Conor might win a boxing match. I mean, maybe there's like a small percentage chance that he just runs in there and clips Floyd with a big shot and rocks him and then takes him out. I don't know what that percentage is, but if you ask a boxing expert, there's like 4%. 5%, right? That's what a boxing expert would say, which I'm not. But I'm an MMA expert. And if they fought in an MMA fight, it's 100% that Conor would fuck him up. 100%. No ifs, no ands, no buts, no chance. No chance. Conor's going to be farther away from Mayweather than anyone has ever hit him, and he's going to be kicking him in the stomach, in the legs, and he'll soften him up, and the rounds are 5 minutes long, and eventually he gets a clinch. And when he gets a clinch, Mayweather is fucked. He's going to the ground. He's not going to be able to stop it. He's going to get mounted, and he's going to get elbows force-fed into his eye socket, his nose, his mouth, his jaw, the sides of his head, his ears. He's going to get elbowed in the ear. He's going to get punches dropped down on him when he's totally pinned down and defenseless. He's going to have a knee on one of his biceps while the guy's literally on top of him, pounding him in the face. And he won't be able to get up. He won't be able to stop the crucifix. He won't be able to stop anything. He'll be tied up and smashed on the ground until he decides to choke him. So he'll be completely defenseless. So in that sense, the odds would be insane. If Mayweather decided in the next 2 months, because the fight's going to take place in August, if he decided in the next 2 months...
Which, by the way, I feel like is soon. Am I
very
wrong?
Quick.
I feel like it's too
very
soon.
Quick. It's very quick. Maybe it's not too soon. Maybe they've been negotiating for a long time, but at least Conor knows something about boxing, or this could be a thing. But if they just took it from now and said, 2 months from now, you're going to have an MMA fight, holy shit, the odds would be 100,000 to 1. Like, if you ask, like, any real MMA expert, they'd be like, how fucked is he? Oh, he's 100% fucked. 100% fucked. And boxing experts think that Mayweather is 100% fucked, but they'll give him a slight chance. You never know. It's crazy. People are throwing punches. You never know, because Mayweather can throw a punch for sure, and Conor can throw a punch for sure.
Right.
Who knows what happens? Who knows? Most likely, though, Mayweather outboxes him. But you could see Conor landing something. It could be crazy.
He's just the hardest person to land. It's not just that he's the greatest fighter. He's the hardest person to land a punch against. That's why I just don't say, yeah.
Ever.
It just...
He's the best defensive boxer ever.
Yeah, that's why it's boring.
It's not to... I mean, it is.
It is.
But
by the
isn't.
way, I don't find it boring on a technical level. I find it boring on like a social... Like, I like the social element around a fight and the excitement and, you know...
It's a very good way to put it.
It's not a good... He's not like the best, you know, you can't look at your pizza while you're eating it because you got to keep your eye on the screen. Like, it's...
Like a Tyson fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tyson was the best example of, in a lot of ways, what was wrong with people liking boxing. Because I just wanted to see someone get slaughtered.
Sure.
You know? And then Arturo Gatti and Mickey Ward is like the other side of it. It's like neither guy can slaughter the other guy, and they keep slaughtering each other and coming back. Like, that to me has always been my favorite kind of fight. And Torn, personally, because I know how dangerous it is for them. Because it's such a horrible experience for their body.
Just exchanging punch after punch after punch.
A guy named Tim Hague just died this past weekend, and he was a former UFC fighter who lost in the UFC and then went over and was fighting a bunch of other organizations, and he sustained a series of pretty brutal knockouts. Like,
it was like a boxing thing, though, wasn't it? A boxing accident,
He fought a bunch of MMA fights, had gotten knocked out many times, and then went and just 2 months after a big knockout that he just had in April, fought a boxing match. So he had been knocked out in April. I believe it was April. I'm sorry if I'm wrong. That's what I read. And then he's fighting again in this boxing match, and he's outmatched. He takes his fight on short notice against a really good boxer. I think he has like a 1-3 boxing record or something. It's not a good boxing record. And this guy just fucked him up and bad, and the KO was brutal. And he apparently got knocked down several times in the first round. And he got hit with some big bombs and dropped, and his head bounced off the ground, and he died. And it is a very rare thing for someone to die in boxing in the heavyweight division. It's usually the guys who dehydrate themselves and then come into a fight like really light. Those are the ones that usually die. So this is pretty rare. There was like a serious beating in a fight between that really badass Cuban guy, Southpaw, big something Luis. See if you could figure. He's a top contender right now in boxing in the heavyweight division, but he beat up this Russian cat and fucked him up, and the guy wound up being in the hospital for quite a long time, and I believe his career is over. He had some swelling and bleeding on the brain, but he survived. But Tim is unfortunately passed away. Scary shit. So those fights, they come with, there's a great consequence that we don't feel as spectators.
Although I think people feel it now more than ever.
For sure.
I mean,
right.
football too. I mean, I can't get over like when you hear like just a crack of a helmet.
There it is. Why was a brain damaged fighter allowed to leave Madison Square Garden on his own? Yeah. What is homeboy's name there? Magomed Abdusalamov. And he was fighting Mike Perez. I think that's the fight. So I got the guy wrong, too. That's not the big Cuban heavyweight. I think I fucked it up. It's a different Cuban heavyweight.
By the way, have you been to the theater at the Garden there?
See,
that's a great place to watch.
Oh, yeah, it's amazing.
I love it.
That theater is amazing.
Yeah.
I'm doing stand-up there.
Ooh.
I'm excited. There's a big UFC fight at Madison Square Garden. What is that guy's... Luis Gomez is a comedian. There's a top Cuban heavyweight. Something... God damn it.
There's a lot of name overlap in boxing, too.
This guy was in a coma after this loss, so
it
seems like it was him.
I think I got the wrong guy, though.
Oh,
like, that was the right fight, but I'm trying to figure out who the other guy is that I thought was this guy. That's another guy. God damn it. He's one of the top guys, a really big dude.
Luis Ortiz?
Yes, Luis Ortiz. Thank you. I thought I was going crazy.
I never remember anything. That's why I've talked to people where they're like, you should do a sports thing. And I'm like, I'm not, again, like I reiterate, I'm a fan. I'm such a fan, but I just don't have the knowledge to pull out of my little knowledge satchel.
If you did, would you be interested in doing alternative boxing commentary? Like, say if like, I feel like this is going to be the future of interactive television. Yeah. You're not going to have just one commentator team.
Oh, you have who you want?
Yeah, you have who you want.
I would be the one who would be like, this is fun, everybody. Oh, this, I'd be the one who'd be like, I think he's cuter, but I think the other guy is better.
So look, how about this? How about maybe a guy sitting down with his girlfriend, and she's like, I don't want to watch this fight unless we watch Morgan's commentary. And the guy's like, deal.
We
got it. Perfect. I get to watch the fight. You get to listen to Morgan. Like, that's a fucking good idea. And that's not a hard setup.
No, I talk a lot about a cut man. I love a cut. I love a cut man. I love a close up of a wound over the eye.
Of an end swell.
Oh.
Softening down.
It's fascinating.
Bruised tissue.
There's something soothing about it.
Now, when you were boxing, were you sparring?
Like a couple times, a little bit with like a friend, like not, but.
Did you guys just tap each other, or did you
tap
get
each other?
crazy?
But like no, it was I'd go with my friend Amy, and we would work out. It was my workout. I used it as like a workout, and then I became buddies with Freddie Roach, and that was like at a time I was working at Kimmel at the time, and so this is 12 years ago or something like that, and I would just work out and then occasionally do a little, like Freddie would have to do a little sparring, but it was very, very couple points here and then done. Like I was nervous. When I was a kid, I did a lot of karate. I sparred as a kid. I kicked some kid in the head at like a testing, and I remember the instructor saying "good job" to me.
Whoa!
And I just nailed some kid in the head. I was like 12. But no, I mean, I went to the coolest thing about the wild card was, I feel like Pacquiao was training there every day pretty much, and Freddie would let me stay when they closed the gym for Pacquiao. He'd let me stay and like watch him train, that was awesome. Like 12 years ago to do that.
Did you ever see Brian Callen at the gym?
Yeah. I feel like I feel if I didn't see him there, we talked about it definitely.
Brian Callen boxes.
Yeah,
all the time. He spars.
Yeah.
He's always talking to me about his sparring. I'm like, dude, stop sparring. Your brain is already soft. Like, what are you doing?
I get excited about it. I fought a it was more of a bit, but for Vice magazine, when it was just a magazine, we did I fought a female heavyweight. We did it in prom dresses.
What kind of a fight?
She wasn't allowed to really
hit you?
Yeah, she like could get her belts taken away and stuff. But I brought this dude from the wild card as like my corner man, and we both wore prom dresses.
So she was a real fighter?
real fighter, heavyweight fighter. And then at one point, I think I just jumped on her back
Oh, Jesus.
and tried to like knock her down.
So she didn't try to hit you?
She, the plan was for her to try, and my plan was for me to allow her to try. And then her manager was like, "Nah, she's not allowed to." It's like legally she wasn't allowed to hurt
You
me.
don't want that.
I know, but I thought it'd be,
Good, so you get knocked out?
yeah, that'd be my fun little,
Did you ever see when
I've always, don't you want, like, I get embarrassed when I haven't done something that sounds like I would like to be able to say I got knocked out once.
Really?
Yeah.
Don't say that. Someone come and knock you out. It's not good for you. Here you are.
Oh, there's me.
She's picking you up.
Yeah.
Oh, she seems friendly.
Yeah. Heavyweight.
So how come you stopped doing it? How come you stopped boxing? Good technique there. Like how you're
Thank
pushing
you.
off the back foot.
Freddie Roach used to call my right the cannon, and
Ooh,
I
the
felt
cannon.
real honored
Nice.
about that.
You and Brian Callen should get together and narrate your own lives.
It's
known as the cannon.
Yeah, I think I I can't remember. Honestly, I got like I got like depressed and stopped boxing and started going to this coffee place instead. Like that shit's boring. I got like depressed. Stopped going to the gym.
So the gym didn't help you with depression? Like exercise didn't
This
help
one
you?
was like a big dip, so it was a few months away from that kind of stuff, and I just stopped going. And then I didn't go back because it was so, by that time, I wanted to, but it was also that gym became, it's like Jeremy Piven's there every day. It just became such a scene that it became not what I had started going there for, if that makes sense.
It does.
And I love it, and I should absolutely go back, and frankly, I think Freddie Roach being as nice to me as he has been in my life is one of the stranger, kind of, he had no reason to sort of take me in, and he did. I almost moved in next door to the wild card with Fred. Like, it was like, it was a dear friend for a long time.
Whoa,
and I got to
you
go
gonna live
back.
with him?
We were gonna live. I was gonna live next to the gym almost for a second in the apartment attached to the gym, but
Wow.
I was just in the middle of
That would be a
lot of
crazy
shit.
place to live. You
Yeah.
hear the bells going off. Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, but he
That'd
was
be
great. He
kinda
took me to
exciting,
like
man.
boxing writers awards dinners and stuff. I got to meet a lot of like great people. I mean, it was a cool time of my life. But I just sort of, and then I moved to New York, and I think that was a big part of it too. Is just
Did you
getting
find out
away.
if Kovalev Award if they had a
No, yeah.
standing eight count?
I found someone trying to describe the analysis and facts. It said that it was a unified rules, no standing eight count was in that, but
Oh, see,
Yeah.
it
that's
wasn't
it
like an
then.
official source. So I didn't
Well,
pull
if a
it up.
guy quits and there's no standing eight count, you got to think of it as a knockout. It's like MMA. But if there's a standing eight count, they would have given it to him there. Or what he should have done is probably take a knee. Kovalev probably should have taken a knee, and if he took a knee, then he would get a 10 count.
Yeah,
Then
so
it
there
would be
was some-
considered a knockdown.
Some low blows that he
Yeah,
had
big
got
low
warmed
blows.
about
Yeah,
and
he
didn't get
definitely-
warmed about.
Yeah, he definitely got hit low. And then there was a couple of them that are questionable, like on the belt line. Apparently, they were saying Kovalev's belt was pretty high.
It's funny because there tends to somehow in boxing something happens, be it a horrific judgment, which I think happens a lot, like to allow there to be another fight. Like it just seems to be like
Right.
something always fucking happens. That's why when I have a lot of people over to watch boxing, like I hate the parts of the sport that seem like it's fixed because I can appreciate the fight as a whole even without an outcome, I think.
Do you think
Like,
this is fixed?
No, not this, but I just mean in boxing there always seems to be something happens that would make a rematch more attractive.
Right, but that's just the nature of competition on a big scale like that with crazy consequences, like the Klitschko Anthony Joshua fight. Like that's the consequences of that fight. Just fucking chaos. Just guys getting knocked down, get back up, and knocking the other guy down. And holy shit! Then a kind of a controversial ending. And They
Yeah.
stop it. He looked like he was defending himself.
But do you think there's more controversial endings in boxing than there are in MMA?
I think people make split-second decisions when they're referees in the heat of the moment,
Mm-hmm.
and when you're going to have that, you're going to have mistakes. It happens all the time, and it's nothing.
It just
to do,
feels like there's a lot of mistakes.
I do not think it's fixed, not by any stretch of the imagination. I think, especially like with respected fighters, I think
Yeah.
people do have biases for certain styles, and there's certain referees that will let a fighter defend himself further than some will. Some will, especially in MMA. Some will
Sure,
stop fights quick.
and judges are always sitting somewhere we're not. But I always find it hard to explain to friends who come over who never watch that stuff. And I'm like, I love having people over and having like I said, the social aspect of like sports to me is really fun. But when friends come over and they constantly see results that they don't understand, they're done with the sport, whereas
Good.
if you like it more, you can be like, it happens.
The problem is you're a people pleaser and you're trying to get these people to
true.
like something that you like.
Yeah.
You should just let them think it's fixed. I've had so many conversations with guys like, MMA's fixed, man. Just admit it. I'm like, oh, I don't want to talk to you. This is a silly way of approaching this issue. You don't know anything.
Yeah.
And you're trying to pretend like you know something. So that we're right from the beginning, we're fucked. Like this, we can't have this conversation. You're pretending that you've seen enough fights, you understand fighting enough, you've competed enough, you've been hit enough, you've seen people get hit. You know enough to know when something's real and something's not. You know. Everybody else can't figure it out, but you figured out that a lot of the fights are fixed. There's some fixed fights, for sure.
That's why I like, obviously, like the last 5 years, been obsessed with the Golovkin because he's just a knockout artist, and you can't, that's not, there's some proof to it. I mean, maybe with MMA too, it's like you can, I would say that early stoppages in boxing are probably more.
No, they're very common. They're very common in both sports.
Oh.
It's just people making mistakes. But my point is, there are going to be fixed fights. There's going to be people that do things. Just like there's referees in NBA, apparently, that get busted trying to stretch games out and trying to call fouls on certain teams, and they work for people that bet money and they try to shave points. That shit's always going to exist. There's always going to be someone who tries to talk to a referee and says, listen, buddy, I'm not saying that you should fix the fight. I'm saying if you see somebody get hurt, stop that motherfucker. Stop that fight. Pull that trigger a little quick. No one's going to be mad at you. And there's that. There's definitely that. But how often does it happen? I bet it happens pretty rarely. I bet it's much more people making mistakes, much more people in the heat of the moment, much more just the nature of the chaos of combat sport competition. Just wacky shit happens. And people make big mistakes as referees. Just like, people like you and I make big mistakes talking on a podcast. You're just talking off the top of your head, right?
Sure.
You make mistakes. But with a referee, you're making a mistake for like this other guy's career, like for Kovalev. Like, to not recognize the low blows, to stop the fight, like the way he did. Kovalev fucked up. He should have taken a knee.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing is that a lot of these things can lead to another fight. Like that's what I'm saying is that without the controversy, there's less attraction.
But no one's going to agree to it. Look, Andre Ward is not going to agree to some sort of a predetermined outcome.
Sure.
Kovalev is not going to agree to a predetermined outcome. So those two principles, the most important parts of this equation, would never fucking ever agree to let the other person win. There's not a chance in hell Kovalev is just going down from a nut shot.
Oh no, I don't think they let him win. I just think that no, I don't think it's fixed. I just think the controversy itself makes a rematch more attractive to
for sure.
viewers.
But the idea that somehow because it's fixed.
No, I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, but a lot of people do.
Yeah.
Dude, boxing's so fixed. That guy at the party.
Everybody at my house, like I also seem to invite people over for the wrong fights. You know what I mean? Where you're like, oh, the last one was fucking great, and then you have people over, and it's like, ooh.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm embarrassed.
That's always how it is. There's so many people that they just don't. They've never competed, and so like and there's also people that want to call bullshit. They want to be the first person to call bullshit. So they're a little itchy on the trigger, calling bullshit on things. There's always going to be that, right?
Contrarians.
A lot of contrarians.
A lot of them.
A lot of smart people are contrarians, too.
Oh, some of my smartest friends.
It's disappointing sometimes.
Some of my smartest friends are always wrong.
Well, it's like what led them to be smart and curious. It's like this distrust of things. Mm-hmm. But contrarian's also fun, right? You see the tide going one way, like, fuck that tide.
A little sparring, a little verbal sparring.
A little verbal sparring. Keep it flowing. A little, that's a big thing with comics, right?
I find that the guys I tend to be attracted to are
Black guys?
Are contrarians are just it's a fight from the get-go.
Really? That's what you like?
A little bit.
You like a little bit of that
I like a
verbal
little
sparring.
bit of a verbal sparring, yeah.
You like to see if they can hang.
Yeah, and I'm totally driven entirely by being like mentally stimulated. So it's just then I'm in like sexually. But if it's not fun, if the banter's not fun, then then I have no interest in fucking someone.
I hear you. That's not how I feel at all. That's a difference between guys and girls.
It
though.
is very much so,
especially with comics. I've heard that many times. Like girl comics say they would never date a guy that wasn't funny.
Yeah.
But you never hear that from a dude.
No, that is it's funny. It's one of the things I talk about the most with a lot of my like female comedian friends. But it's just there's no part of me that would be sexually interested in somebody who wasn't. If not funny, they'd have to be, brutally smart on a level that I don't even understand.
Like some Stephen Hawking shit.
Yeah, like I'd have to just, I don't know. I like to. This is gonna sound wrong, but there's something fun and attractive about intellectually being put in your place.
Wow, that's weird. Like you would like to be intellectually choked.
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit. A little bit. I don't know. Maybe it's not the popular opinion, but
who gives a fuck? It's your opinion. Doesn't have to be popular. If you enjoy it.
It's also like if somebody's. It doesn't have to be my thing. Even if someone's great at their thing.
Right.
And I have no understanding of it, I find that to be attractive. So it doesn't necessarily always have to be a comedian and someone who is, brilliantly hilarious. Like I've been attracted to guys who are just brilliant at a thing that I have zero comprehension on how you even get good at it, let alone great at it, and something fun about it.
Yeah, I'm always fascinated by those people for sure, but I don't find them attractive. No, like
believe me, there are things I wish I was more attracted to. Like I wish I was attracted to money and looks and all the things that
do you?
Yeah, I wish.
Do you really though? Doesn't that seem unoriginal?
It seems like there'd be more options, and then it would be easier as opposed to waiting 3 years to find someone who just like hits the right button and you're like, oh God, I'm in.
Yeah. Well, to be able to be like tuned into someone in a mental way, like your minds are tuned into each other, where you can speak on the same terms, where you can both recognize the humor in things, you both have opinions on things, you both enhance the conversations that you have. Like you throw in something that makes me laugh, and I throw in something that makes you laugh, and then it's always so much more fun.
Right.
It just is. It's just. I mean, that's how it is with friends. That's how it is with everybody. I mean, that's like what I said about Burr, like having that podcast with Burr, like. Just when me and Burr are alone and we're talking shit, or our text messages we have back and forth with each other, they're hilarious. It's like that, like to have a friend like that is a cherished thing.
Right.
Like to have someone that you could sit, and then if you could fuck them too, oh shit.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Right,
but rarely happens.
Christina Pazitsky and Tom Segura. It's one of the rare ones. One of the rare two funny comedians that get together. And they both have a great time together.
Bonnie McFarlane and Rich Voss.
That's another one. Those are two running contenders for the throne.
Think of more.
Those are the two contenders for the throne, though. As far as like funniest married couple, 100%. I don't see anybody else that's like at that level. Bonnie and Rich and Tom and Christina. I don't see anybody else at that level.
I'm trying to think.
It's rare, but they're outliers. Think about it.
Natasha Leggero.
Oh, that's
Moshe
right. I'm
Kasher.
sorry.
I
fucked up
searching.
Moshe and I fucked up Natasha. Sorry. They're both hilarious. You're right. I fucked up. That's number 3. How did I not remember them? But that's number 3. Those 3 people. Other than that, who?
I don't know. I mean,
that's 3 out of 300 million. They're 1 out of 100 million.
Most of the smart, funny guys I know don't need that in a woman, and that's it's not my place to judge. Like I wish there's part of me that like goes like, how could you date her? She's a fucking idiot. Whatever it is, it's not my job to judge who stimulates you. But it would be easier if I had more options.
Do you think it would be cheesy if Moshe and Natasha went on stage with T-shirts that say 1 out of 100 million? Because maybe that could be like their tour name.
Yeah.
Because they really are. Like, if they're a really legitimately hilarious couple, they're both hilarious. That's maybe 1 out of 100 million.
Yeah.
That's pretty legit, right? I mean, I'm trying. Maybe there's somebody else that I forgot.
Have you dated comedians?
When I was like 21.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, they're crazy too. Can't have this. Can't have crazy people feeding off each other. That just doesn't seem like a wise move. No. And also, it's too complicated. I've seen what happens when guys date a comic and then they break up with each other and then she comes around with some new dude and the guy's all bummed out. And like that happened with Ari and Natasha.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah. It's disastrous.
That's
like,
crazy.
Yeah, don't do that. No. Just be friends. Unless you got to do what you got to do. It could work.
The problem is that you're in the same scene as someone, so you got to work through all of your shit around the person that hurt you, and that's that's the hardest.
But you might come out of it a better person. You might come out of it more open-minded, more easygoing, more forgiving. You just deal. Just overcome.
You're so positive.
I try to be, Morgan. I do my best. I don't always succeed, but I do my best. But again, it'll work out. Yeah. It's all gonna work out. Except for this fucking Yellowstone thing. God damn it.
We're done.
It's a lot of earthquakes.
Do you know, I'd like a guy who does that, who like measures earthquakes.
Seismologist.
Yeah. Well, but like knows more about like a real cynical seismologist who's like, we're done. We're cooked.
What if you really liked a guy, but then you found out he was into jazz?
It's happened. It's happened.
I mean, like, oh no, and you come home to your apartment.
I had a guy every time he called me, there was jazz on in the background.
No,
every time.
No.
But he was a very serious actor. Like
probably didn't even like the
self-serious.
jazz. He probably
he just wanted it on in the background.
Probably put it on the background right before he called.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, someone's calling me. Made me seem more sophisticated. Brian Callen used to leave books out on his table that he wasn't really reading. I called him out on it. I came over to his house one time and he had The Catcher in the Rye or something like that sitting right on his coffee table. I'm like, bitch, you are not reading that. He started laughing. He goes, I'm not. And I go, what the fuck do you have that here for, man? He goes, to impress girls. I go, I knew it. It's so obvious.
To impress girls who don't ask any questions.
Yeah, well.
Like he'd ever have to defend it or get into it or go, hey, what's your opinion of it?
Why would you date a girl who asks questions? That's just, Jesus Christ, that seems like a disaster waiting to happen. If you date a girl and right away they come with the questions. Mm-hmm. So what books have you read recently? Like, oh, Jesus, this is not going to work. Morgan Murphy.
Yeah.
We just hit a low. Stop talking.
Yeah, what do we do now?
Just kind of rebuild momentum. Talk about new
I
shit.
wish I was like a big exciting lady, with a lot of movement.
I think one of the best things you've ever done is that Carlos Mencia thing where you did his material.
Oh yeah.
You said that you did it in 1920. What did you say?
1912. I was trying to make it obvious that I was fucking with people, but it's not every. Every few months I check, I see what's going on over there, and every comment is like, oh, I don't care. He does it better. I'm just like, I was fucking with you.
Yeah, you dummy. It says 1912. What the fuck? It's pretty obvious, too, the way you're doing it, that it's a parody.
Yeah, I was reading off a cue card I made in 5 minutes.
I think there's certain people that are doomed. They're just doomed. You're never going to get to them. It's like there's certain fish that can breathe with their gills, and they also can breathe air. They can suck air. Yeah. Not everybody has that ability. Mm-mm. Not everybody has the ability to recognize humor or satire or just to see it. There's certain people that I just think they have a dull battery for a brain.
It's more obvious and pronounced, now more than ever because of everyone's got a little bit of a voice on the old computer.
Well, more of a voice than ever.
Now we get to see not only how they make their own jokes, but how they respond to yours, and the combination of both is startling, frightening.
Well, that and also like these people are illuminated now, where they might have been just in the shadows before. Some weird neighborhoods, and the good thing about it is that people that live in those weird neighborhoods, like kids, they get exposed to way more shit. Like, there is such a difference between when you travel and you go on the road now and you go to a town like in the middle of nowhere, versus going to a town in the middle of nowhere in the 90s. You go to a town in the middle of nowhere in the 90s, you were in an outlier post. Like you were in like some Mad Max type situation. You're doing some Minnesota gig in the middle of nowhere. Like these people aren't going to know shit about the real world. I mean, they're going to be trapped out here. The town's only got 5,000 people in it or something. You're doing like a college out there. Good luck. Good luck. But now, they might as well be living in San Francisco.
Yeah.
They all have the internet.
Yeah.
People just know things now. They talk now.
It's funny, Doug. And he's right. Like, but he'll shit on me a little bit about, like, we'll go somewhere and I'll go like, oh, it was funny. He goes, that's not the road. Like he has a real, I mean, like guys who, I mean, like you do, like who have really fucking put in the road work across the country, across the fucking world. Like, I am admittedly not that person, and the places that I think are sort of, out there, middle of nowhere, like he'll put me in my place so fast of like, this is nothing.
What's the darkest place you've been, like in terms of like exposure to the light of enlightenment?
One gig I did with Henry Phillips once was in my 20s. Chris Fairbanks and Henry Phillips and I went. Like I don't have any crazy, like I don't do the drugs that would lead to better stories than the ones I have, but I just like where you're just sleeping on a twin bed with another comedian in a kid's room because his parents own the pizza place that you drove up to perform at, and there's like a 14-year-old vomiting drunk outside the window, like all just that kind of shit where you're just, and you're grown up technically, you're in your 20s and you're just going, what am I here for $50 and a 6-hour car ride and free pizza and a kid's twin bed, and like people are having contests to see who can piss the highest outside, like just that kind of shit where I'm just, I at one point I started to hate it. Now I just, I think the friends that I have who go out and occasionally, take me or go with them, like I have so much fun now doing stuff that I used to, that I got tired of, I think, in my 20s. So it's interesting. It's like I'm a little bit reinvigorated.
Well, you realize that those things can be fun once you become a real professional, first of all. In the beginning, you're so looking forward to working at the Comedy Store or the Improv or headlining, seeing your name on the billboard, look.
Yeah.
But once you've done that, then you realize, like, there's actually fun in these places.
Yeah.
The problem is me freaking out about this 2 hours I have to spend in this shithole bar. I should be enjoying the fuck out of it. I should be coming in here with a relaxed attitude, having a good time, and experiencing this for what it is, instead of experiencing like, oh my God, I'm so frustrated because I really want to climb my way up to being a professional comedian, but I'm stuck in this shit bar. But then once you kind of are, then you realize like, no, those are actually fun. Like,
now I have, but now I just like, my only thing with my booking guys, like I just say, I'll go anywhere that I haven't been to yet.
Right.
I mean, name the place. If I like it, I'll go, and if I haven't been there, I'll go. Like I love the unknown of it, but I'm definitely not a veteran of the road, which is
the real issue is non-direct flights.
Oh yeah.
Any place where you go that doesn't have a direct flight, you might get fucked.
Yeah.
You could get fucked.
I mean, for this tour that Doug's doing, his tour manager's driving a car out from Arizona to the East Coast.
So they're just driving around?
And then I'll meet him out there.
Oh,
and do
that's
a bunch of dates out there.
That's a good way to do it.
Yeah.
I know my manager brought up getting a bus, like doing a bus tour. I'm like, hey.
Doesn't Ron White have a bus?
Oh yeah, he's got like
a number one tequila bus.
Yes, he does. Yeah, but that's Ron. I have young kids. Like I'm not doing a bus.
Gaffigan gets a bus when he has his kids out on the road.
Good for him. Also, I like doing too much other shit.
Yeah.
I don't like being like, if I'm just on the road for a month, that's not a healthy month.
Yeah.
I'm not into that. I don't want any weird fucking momentum taking over my life.
Well, I feel that way. Like I can't do it alone. I don't want to. I have no interest in doing it alone. And frankly, like I can't afford to headline and bring people with me. I'm not that kind of a draw. So I would much rather go out with friends who can bring me, do a little less time, and have a good time with a bunch of friends.
Yeah.
Like that's it's not the front lines brave way to go about stand-up comedy, but it's just like I have no interest in suffering on the road.
And why should you? Why do you have to have that interest? Like, that's...
Well, no, I mean, I think there are certain people who are like, well, you're taking the easy way out. You're not headlining this week. You're going out. You're doing a nice 30, 35 max. And it's like, yeah, well, that's what I'm doing this week.
So what?
I don't know.
Who gives a fuck? Why is that a bad thing? I know a lot of guys do that. They do that all the time. They'll headline.
Yeah.
Sometimes they go on the road in their middle.
Yeah.
Who gives a shit? The things that people worry about and pick apart are just like so goddamn pointless. Plus, you get the opportunity to go out with stand-up. Like, why would you not want to do that? And I figured out a long time ago, like the road, there's two types of road. There's road by yourself, which can get real lonely.
It's depressing.
It can get very lonely. Or there's a road with friends.
Yeah.
Where it's a party.
It's amazing.
It's fucking great.
I remember looking out a window at like Springfield, Illinois. I was like 19 or 20.
Oof.
And I just looked out the parking lot window and I was like, this is, I love stand-up and I love comedy, but I said, this is not for me. This'll destroy me.
I did all of my gigs on the road by myself until I could afford to not do it anymore. And then right around the end of the 90s, I started taking Chris McGuire on the road with me a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
Chris a long time.
Once I could afford, like, and it cost money. Like, you'd have to pay for the flight and pay for the hotel room. But I'm like, I would rather be out a few $100 here and there and have a good time. It made the experience infinitely better.
I went to do Phoenix recently just for a night and to get like some time in that I couldn't get in LA. And so I went out there for the night to do a long set. And I said, I'm bringing my friend. And they were like, who your friend? I go, her name's Chris. And they were like, oh, she's where does she perform, whatever. I go, she's my best friend from college. She's really funny, and she does some stand-up. And I was like, I'm bringing her with me. I was like, fuck it. Like, it wasn't, and she's more of a comedic actress who does some live performance stuff, and she did fucking great. She had to do 10, 15 minutes. She was perfect. I'm like, I could have brought someone who's been doing comedy 12 years. I was like, I wanted to go with my best friend.
Right. Yeah.
That's what I wanted to do.
You wanted to have fun.
Wanted to have fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes it way better. You're in Minnesota, but you're home.
Yeah.
You're in Cleveland, but you're home. Yeah, it's the best. It's the best. And the camaraderie between comedians, it's like such an unusual camaraderie. It's very unusual.
Well, it's also I gotta remember being on the train, like we were at, Doug's a cranky traveler.
Is he?
And oh yeah, I mean he'll tell you firsthand. And we were we landed at LAX, and then it was like to take a different airline, so we had to get on like a shuttle to go somewhere. Like a shuttle after the plane is like,
right.
When someone doesn't like surprises like that. So it's on the shuttle, but it's just like constant like jokes about like we're going to Auschwitz, but like loud Auschwitz jokes on like the American Airlines shuttle with like people around you. And like I'm a little more sensitive to like I'll look around and go like, oh, we're not liked here. But there's nothing better than being around other people who like speak your language and you don't have to explain anything ever.
Oh yeah. 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 Yeah, that's one of the things that Doug said to me once. It was hilarious. He goes, I think I could quit comedy, but I could never quit comedians.
Oh. That's like sensitive shit.
It is. It's deep. I was telling him, like, if everything goes wrong, he could clearly organize some sort of a village in Bisbee, and all the comics move to him.
I'm considering.
What?
I have a Bisbee realtor.
What?
Yeah, I do.
You're thinking about buying a home?
I have to be in LA. My work is in LA. Doug doesn't have to be in LA, but I haven't found a place that offers me the way that place does. I haven't found a place that offers me everything I don't realize I miss when I'm in LA.
Like what? What does it offer?
The second
you?
I get there, it's a sense of calm. It's a sense of reprioritizing your day around things that have nothing to do with show business and being around people who aren't in the business. I mean, most of my friends weirdly are not comedians like that I hang out with every day, but I don't know. I mean, the other day, like, I was there and we had a little like pickup basketball game planned for like 9 a.m. and like 8 people showed up to watch me play this dude Kenny. Like, it's just small town kind of shit, but with people who seem to have figured out why they're there too. And I just really dig it. I dig the whole vibe. I dig the city, the town, or whatever. I like the drive there even. And I think
How long is the drive from LA?
No, I haven't driven from LA. I've flown to Tucson. drive like an hour and a half. But I always was obsessed with like getting a place in like Costa Rica or Nicaragua. Like anytime I go to another country and I'm like, oh, this is it. This is my spot.
Really?
And there's a lot. Yeah. And
You think that's because you traveled a lot when you were a kid?
I think so. I think there's a part of me that has a little bit of a problem staying still because I never knew,
Right.
that kind of consistency. But the thing I realized about Bisbee, which again is so like Doug's thing that it's almost funny, but it's it's all those feelings that I had even in other countries where I was like, it's getting away, but it's close enough.
Right.
It's just, but you still feel like you're on the outskirts, and you feel like you go back in time a little bit there. And there's something refreshing about waking up and going, I'm going to go get my coffee at the one coffee place. I'm going to go get this kind of food at the one place that has this kind of food. I'm going to go get my fresh eggs from the lady who has fresh eggs and come from her chicken. Like, it's just shit that I don't do here. And I didn't even think I wanted to do until I got there.
Right. I get it. I like those places. I love Boulder, which is much bigger than Bisbee, but still for the same reasons. I think what we do specifically also, like you're in front of crowds all the time. I think there's like a real benefit to being away from crowds.
Yeah.
And just smaller groups of people. It's more relaxed.
Yeah. And it's also, I think you go somewhere a certain number of times, you meet kind of the people that are there. I mean, obviously I've met a lot of Doug's friends and stuff. And, once you're not bothered, you go from a place of like, I wonder if anyone's going to annoy me. No one annoys you. Then you're like, I really like it here. Then you're like, oh, I really love it here. Then you're like, I think I could have a place here.
So you're thinking about legitimately picking up shop and moving to Bisbee and then keeping an apartment here. And then when you're not working like in Hollywood shit, you live in Bisbee and then you go on the road from there.
Yeah, not quite, but I am thinking about having something consistent that like I will probably have to be here the majority of the time for the foreseeable future. But I'm curious about what it'd be like to have my own little spot that I could go to when I want to. And I, in doing it enough now, I realize like you can go for a weekend and it feels like you decompress.
Fuck yeah. There's a cave for sale out there.
Yeah, I know. He's trying to
cave.
get. Did you see? He's trying to get. So far, I feel like I don't know if you were interested, but I know me, Kreischer, Roseanne, Norm, and Doug, like the people who have expressed interest in this cave of going in and getting it. I was like, oh, I would live in that fucking insane asylum in a heartbeat.
Dope.
It's amazing.
It's super dope.
You should get it.
Thought about it a couple of times. I'm gonna be honest with you.
You should.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at like a little Craftsman 1-2 bedroom. I mean, I want just a little place to go with my dog and stuff. But if you get the cave, I'll stay there and clean it for you.
Get the cave, everybody knows where you live.
That's true.
Yeah.
Get a keep out sign.
Oh, that's it. That's all you need. Keep out sign.
Yeah.
And some wild javelinas roaming around your yard.
You could hire a number of people there who would gladly stand in the front of your driveway with a gun.
Really?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
How many guns? They have backup guns?
I don't know.
Living in a cave would be the shit. If you could live in a cave, it's carved into the mountain. There it is, right there.
It feels right for
Young
you.
Jamie's got it. That's what I'm saying.
But I'm saying that so far, and Doug thought 10 people. Doug, me,
keep clicking,
Roseanne,
Jamie.
Bert. You have to live with Bert.
No, I don't have to live with them. I'm gonna buy it.
Oh well,
Bert, look, you can come stay over, but you drink too much. Can't live with you, bro. Look at this thing. This thing is the shit.
Yeah, you see the wall. I mean, all the outdoor stuff too.
I want to live in this place.
Lake and the water.
I would write some awesome stuff in this house. I always think that. I write my best material.
That's what I keep thinking. I keep trying to find the house that I think I'll write. And
don't jump up though. You hit your head. You'll die. No one will find you. Look at that. That's the bed. The bed is carved into the ground.
No, that's like is that a fireplace in there? Oh, that's beautiful.
He's got like a carpet and some pillows. And then is that a fireplace? A yoga room. Oh, pretentious. You have a room to do your yoga.
That's a little built-in studio type
room.
thing, right?
Oh, that's a real house.
Yeah, and then
you get a real house.
And
that's
then
security.
you got all this land and water and shit.
So the real house, you take some Rambo type character.
That's where I would work. Right
there. Back it up. Backed it up. Want to see where Morgan would work?
I'll work at that table.
Dude, would you have coffee? And your wife be pouring you the coffee like Hunter S. Thompson, that classic picture of him at Big Sur?
Mm-hmm. God, I need a wife.
You already have one.
I'm tired of shit.
Just that lady who's trying to get you to have a kid.
Oh, my housekeeper,
yeah,
Teresa?
she's your life partner.
She really
That's
is.
a fucking amazing view. Holy shit.
Yeah.
I might have to buy that cave. Keep going. It's like if we were gonna move to a new spot, this would be a spot to move to.
Yeah,
God,
I would
that's
get
beautiful.
in. I would get in bikini shape for that little lagoon. You
Plus-
have to give me 6 months before you buy it.
You could get resident tags for
Yeah.
for animals.
Yeah.
Go hunt animals in the mountains around there.
Oh, don't shoot my dog.
No, not your dog. I have dogs too. Jesus.
know.
God.
Just
I'm a
don't
dog
accidentally. I know. But I feel like you're also got a trigger finger. Got an itchy
Uh-oh.
trigger finger.
You think so?
Yeah.
I think you have the wrong impression of me.
Oh.
I think you think I'm more volatile than I am. How many people live in Bisbee?
I don't know. What is it? Thousands? 5,000? 10? I don't. 5,000? I don't know. I
Fuck
have
they
no
do.
fucking idea. The elevation's really high though. Playing basketball was hard.
Like, what's the elevation?
It's like a mile high. It's crazy. It's like
Really?
yeah. It's. I was deep. I would say
Whoa.
2 baskets in.
5,000 feet.
I was leaning over real hard. Could barely play.
The city was wow. Population is 5,000 too.
All right.
Elevation's 5,000. Population's 5,000. 5 on both. It's perfect.
Yeah, I got a little. This last time I was there, I got a 2-bedroom Airbnb, little house, hot tub, all that shit. $85 a night, 2-bedroom house.
Dude, that's a good deal. What is there a gym there?
Yeah, you know what? You got to ask Doug because his buddy who says his husband, he just joined a gym that's like a minute away, like that's right there. Then they talk about that.
In Tucson, you said it's an hour and a half drive?
Hour and a half drive.
That's not that bad if
It's
you
not
need to
bad at
really do
all.
something. It's like going to Santa Barbara.
That's what I said to like everyone I work with. I was like, I'm gonna leave. I can be back in 3 hours. Basically, I just said, let me know if I need to come back for any kind of emergency shit, and I'll be back. But
Wow.
easy to go.
In the mountains. Does it get cold there at all?
I think it gets cold at night sometimes, but you gotta say the weather's amazing in that. Like my dad called me. He was like, I hear it's real hot there, and I'm like, it's so breezy constantly in Bisbee. It gets really hot, but not as hot as it does in other areas because of the elevation.
Yeah, 5,500 feet is fucking high. I would imagine. Interesting.
You gonna do
What's
it?
the
Cave
what's the
house?
economy there? Like, what do people do?
Nothing.
Why are they there?
I don't know.
They just piled
Why
up.
do I go? I don't know why anybody else is there. I mean, I know why I go.
How many people have moved there because of Doug?
I think
Couple hundred?
I think more than people would think. Yeah, it seems like there's quite a few folks who.
Hundreds?
No, I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I mean, it's almost like I remember talking to Doug about liking it, and I almost felt like I had to ask him, like, hey, I think I'm gonna come out. Like, is that okay? I know it's
He's the
your
mayor.
fucking town. Like, it's you
he get
want to be the
excited?
one who finds it. I mean, I've been out like 4 times. I brought my buddy Bill from. He was just a good friend of mine out here. Like, we hit the road. Like, it's a kind of place that I want to bring people to and show them.
Did Doug get excited when you thought about moving there?
I think you know what? I can't tell. It's you can't tell. Like, he seems happy, but then also there is a part of when a place is somebody's thing, you don't want to intrude.
Right, I get it.
So I don't know. I mean, I also don't think I would just love a little second little rustic place where I do nothing, where I
Dude.
do all my nothing.
I like it.
I'll live in your cave.
Would you want to watch The Cave?
I'll watch the cave.
Would you?
Yeah.
No weird stuff though, right?
No.
Whenever you let a comic watch your house, and then like our,
I mean, I might have some processed sugar in the cave if that's like
Ooh.
going to be a big problem for
it's
you.
going to be an issue.
Yeah.
That's super bad for you, Morgan. Keep it out of your body. Keep it out of my cave.
I just take a picture of like Doritos in front of your favorite places in a cave.
It's funny that they can't get anybody to buy that cave. I would feel like that would be something that people would be trying to buy up.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is, try selling it. Right? Trying to sell a cave
Yeah.
to someone who could afford a $3 million cave. Like, there's not a lot of those dudes out there. Or women.
This cave house is in France.
Oh.
Oh, you're balling. You're balling so strong. You're on the side of a mountain. Hope it doesn't go all Pompeii on your ass, though.
But you know what? You could do a lot of this shit with the cave in Bisbee. You could do a lot of that low seating. I see it happening. I really want you to get that
You're
fucking
digging
cave.
in. How about an amphitheater outside? Amphitheater. Have folk singers come by.
There's a small little amphitheater in the park at in Bisbee.
Is there?
Yeah, a little one.
Well-
You could do a show there.
Oh, what is this?
It's a different one.
Oh,
I
my
I
God.
typed in the cave house in Bisbee, but a lot of like cave houses are just coming up too on Google
I
Images.
saw, I saw a special on one of them television shows about houses where they're just all cave houses. People building houses in caves, carving art into the wall.
Yeah, we're going back to the caves.
Well, it's just people are bored. They just want something interesting. Look at this fucking place. Jesus Christ. Where you live is so goddamn important. Every place has a different feel to it. That's why the idea of countries is so fucked up. Stopping people from living somewhere awesome.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's if you told me, like, I can't go to Bisbee anymore, I can't go to, you know, like,
Perfect example.
I'd get pissed.
If somebody drew a line around Bisbee,
Yeah.
no, this is Bisbania. No, you can't come in unless you have papers. Well, do you have any exceptional talents that we would want to let you into Bisbania? All right? I mean, shit. Just 300 years ago, this wasn't even real, right? 300 years ago, there was no America.
Mm-hmm.
It's not too hard to believe that one day Bisbania could be a real thing. Maybe Doug takes over. Maybe they invent some stem cells that let Doug live for a long time, like way longer than he's supposed to.
Like 5 more years.
500 years. And 300 years from now, Doug is like some crazy old wizard mayor. Is this all the people in his...
Oh, I don't know these people.
All those guys have moved there. Well, that's Andy. I know Andy Andrews.
Where's Andy?
Far
Left?
green underwear in front with a black hat. And then there's, I don't know, those other dudes. Probably Bisbanians. They need to, Bisbania, need to declare it their own country. It's not a bad move, right? Who's going to stop you? No one's even going to, they're going to leave you alone. Just keep it low key.
It's cool that you're 5 minutes from Mexico, too. You do a little drive into Mexico.
Shit goes down, you just bolt south the border. Ooh, take the money and run. All right, Morgan, I think we've taken too much of your time. It's almost 2 p.m. Done almost 3 hours.
What?
Yeah. That crazy?
Oh, my God. I can't wait to look at the comments.
Don't read that shit. Are you going to read that?
No, I don't read anything.
That's why you get depressed.
No, I don't read comments.
Good for you. I don't either.
I don't need someone telling me I sound fat.
Where can people see you? Where can they get in touch with you? Where can they
I am
send you dick
on
pics?
Twitter, Morgan_Murphy. I'll be out on the road with Stanhope from the 22nd to the 3rd of July. You can look at his website for those dates. And, oh yeah, Doug's got a special thing coming out on like CISO, I guess. That's me and Brendan Walsh. It's a Glenn Wool. He hosted this thing in South by Southwest, so that's coming out.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Awesome. Doug's the executive producer?
Doug like hosted and brought out me, Brendan, and Glenn.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah.
And that's when is that coming out?
I don't know.
Morgan Murphy. I'm glad we're friends. You're a very, very funny person.
Oh, you're the best.
That sounded real. Jamie, anything to say before we leave? No. All right. That's it. Thank you, Morgan.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. See you soon.